Good afternoon. It's Monday, March 6th, and here we are with another NBA deeper dive for tonight. Join alongside with me is Adam to break down another 6-game slate in March. We haven't gotten to the point where G Leaguers are making their 10-day contracts out and about for the tanking teams yet, but there's some teams on a back-to-back that are resting, specifically Boston. We'll get into them. Adam, how are you doing on this Monday?
Doing pretty well. Doing better now that Katz is in timeout.
Just another day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
Brandon Katz. For everyone joining us, hit that like and subscribe button. Producer Redvine Klein behind the glass here, just working the beats as usual. But we'll get right into it. Any news that you're pending on that's going to dictate the slate for you, Adam, before we get started?
Yeah, I mean, we got the Miles Turner downgrade not too long ago, so that's big news. We already had Halliburton questionable. Clearly, that's going to matter quite a bit for Indiana. So a lot of injury news there that matters. We have Harris and Tucker questionable for Philly. They both missed shoot around. That's going to matter at least a little bit. Donovan Mitchell questionable for Cleveland. That's a big deal. And then half of the Pistons questionable: Killian Hayes, James Wiseman, Rodney Magruder. That matters a lot. Fortunately, those are early games. We also have Michael Porter Jr. questionable. There's Joe Val questionable, De'Aaron Fox questionable. There's a lot of moving pieces right now.
Yeah, and it's just we got to wait on a lot of the news to make this happen. But we'll go ahead and get started. That first game up top, Boston taking on Cleveland. Boston coming off another double overtime loss against the Knicks, as we saw Emmanuel quickly just put on a masterpiece of a performance in 55 minutes of play. But with that, Boston played a ton of minutes, and we have no Al Horford tonight, no Robert Williams, no Jason Tatum specifically. So all our eyes are going to gravitate to the guys like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Marcus Smart, and Malcolm Brogdon. Those guys are going to dictate quite a bit of ownership, but rightfully so, as they're kind of shorthanded and they're missing a big usage guy in Jason Tatum. But this team's going to be a lot of ownership is going to dictate my lineups with these type of players. And pretty much where the price tags stick out, they're kind of too cheap for their role. You can argue Jaylen Brown without Jason Tatum should be priced around just under $10K. He's about at $8,800 on DraftKings, $9,100 on FanDuel. Comes in at $35 on Yahoo. Let's talk about this Boston situation and how are you going to attack Boston tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here to like now that we don't have Jaylen Brown. You don't have Jason Tatum. You don't have Horford. You don't have Robert Williams. So you're missing 3 starters for the Celtics. You have a very cheap Grant Williams who may or may not start. I assume that he will, but one or the other, he should get plenty of minutes. He's 3,400, looks like one of the better value plays on the slate, pulling 39% ownership on DraftKings. No real problem with that. Probably will end up getting there a little bit more than that myself. So he looks really good. Clearly, you get a bump in production for Jaylen Brown with no Tatum. He's going to look better, certainly better than he did this morning. He's 8,800, shooting guard, small forward. So like that price tag. Mike Muscala, if he starts at 3,300. Back on Valentine's Day, we got the starting lineup where Muscala and Griffin both started. Muscala played like 38 minutes in regulation. Certainly not expecting 38 minutes again, but 3,300 from Muscala at center, if he starts, is going to look like a pretty solid value. Derek White looks better at 5,400 with no Tatum. Marcus Smart looks a little bit better. It's just a really appealing team, whereas this morning there wasn't a lot to like.
Yeah, and I want to give it a special shout out to our presenting sponsor, No House Advantage, and take advantage of that exciting deposit deal we got going with them. Producer will drop that in the YouTube chat, but as enticing as this Boston team looks for DFS purposes, our Data and Tools team are supporting their unders over there, specifically Derek White. His line's right now at 15.5. We like the under, and we expect that to win at 61% of the time. And over there at No House Advantage versus the house cards over there, expect to start with Derek White. And I'll give you guys another one. Right now, our Data and Tools team is not too keen on Jaylen Brown's 3-point line either. A 2.5 point line over there on No House Advantage. We like the under because we have him projected at 2.3. Expected win percentages of 60% of time. I want to let you guys know about that and take advantage of that No House Advantage offer we've got going if you haven't had a chance to play there yet. But circling back to the rest of this Boston team, is there any guys who are kind of coming in low owned right now that you want to take some chances on? Like that Grant Williams
Brogdon's interesting. I think Brogdon's interesting at 5,700. He's only pulling about 5% ownership on DraftKings right now. That's about a third of what you're getting for Marcus Smart. It's a fifth of what you're getting for Derek White. And Brogdon is risky because you certainly can get those games where he only plays about 20 minutes and, disappoints. But he does have a path to 30 minutes if he's playing well. He's a good point per minute guy, well over a fantasy point per minute this season. And that goes up without Jason Tatum as well. So I think he's going overlooked a little bit in tournaments.
Yeah, and I completely stand with you there. But let's talk about specifically the Grant Williams ownership, right? Coming around 40%. Like, that's quite a number. And Grant Williams is cheap at 3,400 if he's going to play all those minutes. But the range of outcomes at that price tag, we haven't touched on. We'll touch on some other cheap value. But do you think he's the best value play on the slate?
I think the best sub 4K value right now for sure. I think Marvin Bagley is probably in the conversation for best overall value, but as far as like actual cheap guys, I think it's Williams.
I agree with you there. And Derek White has a huge number at 51.5 over there on FanDuel, but justifiable. Boston's going to be a key part of your lineups tonight. They're going to be a key part of my lineups for sure. Any final thoughts on Boston before we move on to Cleveland?
Just looks like a good spot to get to the Celtics.
Yeah, and one of these things with a team that's shorthanded, I know a lot of like DFS strategy nowadays is just like kind of backloading your lineups, waiting for late news. But a team like this, it seems justifiable to even get above the field on certain spots here. I think they're at a very good spot.
It is worth noting too that like they are the quality of these plays from Boston is going to sort of vary based on what happens with injury news. Like if you get Halliburton and Miles Turner out, the Boston guys still obviously are going to look good, but they're not going to look as good because you're just going to be getting more value. But like if all these questionable players get ruled in, then Boston's relative value skyrockets.
For sure. And that's a great way to look at this. But that's really about it for Boston. And keep an eye on that starting lineup. That's something that's up in the air for now, but I think Adam had a great breakdown of what we can expect there. Hit that like button for us. The rumor has it the Live Before Lock team is just awful at getting likes, so just boost our egos up while you can. We'll take all those likes we can get. And make sure to follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS while you're there. But on to the Cleveland side of things. Donovan Mitchell, huge question mark. I'm going to say it's tough to break down the Cleveland situation with that questionable tag with Donovan Mitchell. If he's out, the rest of the team looks outstanding. I expect Caris LeVert to enter that starting lineup. He'll look like an amazing $4,000 value play over there on DraftKings. Going to be still in play at $5,300 on FanDuel, but this team is going to be contingent on the Donovan Mitchell situation. How are you going to handle the Mitchell situation if he's in versus he's out?
Yeah, I mean, if he's in, I don't think there's much that stands out from Cleveland. Clearly, you can always get to Mitchell. You can get to Garland. Allen and Mobley look fine, but I don't think anything looks great. Not a overly appealing matchup. Not a ton of value, not really mispriced guys on Cleveland. But if Mitchell's out, then you do start to get some value here. You would expect a bigger offensive role from Evan Mobley. Like you said, you would probably get a 4K Caris LeVert moving into the starting lineup and playing more minutes. So he would look like a good value. You get increased production from Darius Garland if Mitchell is out. So that's a really big piece of news in that if he's in, Cleveland is just sort of a secondary team where you're not really getting to much of them at all. But if he's out, it does open up quite a bit.
Definitely. Yeah. It's going to be something that I'm sure Live Before Lock will break down in extreme detail. Stay tuned. It's Greg and Neil will be Live Before Lock right after us. But before we move on to Philadelphia and Indiana, hit that like button for us. In a Philadelphia situation here, yet again, we're dealing with some big news, the Harrison Tucker situation, but we're doing another Philly slate, and we've done a lot of those together so far this season. It's going to be Harden and Embiid, and I'm going to be interested in getting above the field on them. Embiid doesn't potentially will not have to worry about Miles Turner on the other side. But James Harden still did his thing on Saturday night, even at this elevated price tag. I like getting to both of them. There's some ownership going to around 20% for Harden, about 25% for Joel Embiid right now, the way things stand on DraftKings. Much lower owned over there on FanDuel, but I like getting above the field on both those players. Tyrese Maxey is a huge price difference versus on DraftKings and FanDuel. $5,500 for Maxey over there on DraftKings. He certainly has that upside. Coming in with about the third of the field is expected to go to Maxey. I like getting the Maxey as well. Kind of those three guys for Philly, but no one really else. How do we handle the Harrison Tucker situation as well for this Philly team?
Yeah, I mean, if those guys are in, I'm with you as far as Maxey, Embiid, Harden being the three that you're going to get to. I'm pretty much around the field there. If the slate started right now, I'd have about 32% Embiid, so I'd be a little bit overweight. I'd have about 21% Harden, and I can't find Maxey in my spreadsheet, but I think I'd be getting a lot. There he is. I'd have, like 40% Maxey. So a little bit over the field on these guys if the slate started right now. Certainly a good matchup against Indiana. But the Harris and Tucker news does matter. Neither one is a high usage guy. I mean, Tucker obviously is a no usage guy, but the minutes would open up some value here for Philadelphia, where if both of these guys are out, you probably get the Anthony Melton in the starting lineup. And then there's a good chance that you would get Jalen McDaniels starting at 3,900. He could offer some value. He's cheap. George Niang plays more minutes if Harris or Tucker or both are out. He's also cheap at 3,400. So it does open up some value there if they're out, even though it's not really opening up much usage because Maxey, Harden, and Embiid are still going to dominate that.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point there with that value opening up. Keep in mind, they're still going to be sharing the court with Maxey, Harden, and Embiid. You're going to really count on those peripheral stats to certainly pay off. McDaniels can certainly do that for sure. We've seen that happen in his time in Charlotte, but completely different situation here. And if you're looking for some salary relief, they make for some fine options. But do keep in mind, they're not going to be the type of guys who are going to shoot the ball 15, 16 times a game, that type of usage. You're just hoping for minutes, kind of the ball to fall in their lap a lot of times for them to pay off that type of salary. But any final thoughts on Philly before we move on to the Indiana side of things?
No. Just I guess to recap, Maxey, Embiid, Harden, all very strong plays, and then the rest of this team is dependent on Harris and Tucker statuses.
For sure. Also, another thing to keep an eye on for No House Advantage, we do have those. We do have data on being able to project on how much the expected win percentage is for No House Advantage. And I saw Jordan Klein drop that link in the chat. He'll certainly do that. And make sure to use that promo code Stochastic. That's the promo code over there. 100% deposit match up to $100. So definitely do not miss out on that. Onto the Indiana side we go. And Indiana side is pretty interesting now as we have no situation with we haven't got the final situation with Miles Turner, but that midday downgrade. Indiana's on a back-to-back. They won on a Tyrese Halliburton, I want to say 30-footer in Pat Beverly's face last night in Chicago. So they're on a back-to-back, but some enticing spots because they're tournament-only options, it feels like. Right now on both sites, we have this team projected sub 10% owned across the board. And that makes for a very interesting situation here on a 6-game slate where I certainly think one of these guys can pay off a salary, but it is difficult at their certain price tags. We've touched on the situation with Boston commanding a lot of ownership. It is very different with the situation here in Indy. How do you attack the Indy situation, especially with Miles Turner questionable? Who do we see? Who can we expect enter that starting lineup in the center spot? They still have Isaiah Jackson. Is he the guy that he would go to in the Joel Embiid matchup? My guess is it would be him, and he'd look like an outstanding option at $3,000 if he's going to start.
Yeah, if Turner's out, whoever ends up starting there is going to look good, whether that's Jackson, Daniel Tice, Jalen Smith. There's several ways they could go, but you're going to get cheap value at center if Miles Turner is out. But I'm with you. If Turner is in and if Halliburton's in, there's not much to like here. Certainly you can get the healed Halliburton, Turner in tournaments. Benedict Mathurin, 4,800 shooting guard, small forward with a path to playing 30+ minutes, potentially looks fine as well. No true priorities though, just sort of, secondary differentiation plays. But if you rule out Halliburton or if you rule out Turner, it does open some stuff up. You'd have, in the case of Turner, probably Isaiah Jackson, maybe Daniel Tice or Smith, one of those guys starting at a very cheap price tag, solid point per minute guys. That would open up some value. If Halliburton's out, you're getting TJ McConnell at 4,100 looking really good. You're getting probably increased playing time for Chris Duarte at 3,500 if Halliburton's out. And then you also have Nesmith questionable, which even though he's not a very good fantasy player, it does matter because you got to start for Jordan Nwora yesterday. He only played 21.5 minutes, but he didn't play at all in the second quarter. And that was just a weird game flow thing in large part. The Pacers opened the second quarter on a 12-0 run. They had a 17-2 run at one point about midway through the second quarter. So you saw that second unit just play a little bit more than they normally do. Nwora and Hield, neither one came back in the second quarter. They did go back to Nembhard, Turner, and Halliburton. But I think in a normal game, if Nwora ends up in the starting lineup in place of Nesmith, it's likely you're looking at around 26 minutes or so instead of the 21.5 he played yesterday.
Any concern, kind of just playing devil's advocate here with that situation with Miles Turner? Miles Turner's out. I do think there's a slim chance where Rick Carlisle can just fuck around with us and just play those guys 16 minutes each, that being Daniel Tice, Isaiah Jackson, and Jalen Smith. I just think he could certainly play roulette like that, but it makes me a little skeptical. The opportunity cost at center is kind of high. There is a guy named Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid on this slate. So do keep in mind, I do think I'm just a little cautious with that situation now that I think about it a bit more. Any concern for you on that, for that just playing out that way?
A little bit. I mean, it would make sense if you just want to kind of throw fresh bodies at Embiid. Obviously, you also have plenty of foul risk for these guys, but they are still going to be good point per dollar plays. I agree with you on the opportunity cost, though. You have Jokic, you have Embiid, you have some strong mid-range centers as well. So I think I'm with you. Like, I wouldn't go too crazy with these guys, but they are solid point per minute guys. We got to start from Daniel Tice without Turner back on February 13th against Utah. Tice played 22 minutes in that one. Isaiah Jackson actually played 26 and closed. I think that was partially foul related, though. It looks like Tice had some foul issues. Maybe not, though. He subbed out after getting a foul in the fourth quarter, but he didn't foul out. So I don't really know what the deal was with those minutes, but you ended up getting 48 minutes split between the two of them.
Yeah, I have a sour taste in my mouth because of Jalen Smith. I chose to take some chances with him against the San Antonio. I think that was last Thursday. I don't think he cracked the rotation. So I was like pretty upset by that. Or he played or he was just off. Something happened. I know he put up 0 fantasy. But
oh yeah, he didn't. Yeah, you're talking about the day that Jalen Smith didn't play, I think.
Yeah. So it's just keep an eye on that situation here. But any final thoughts on Indy?
No, just pretty much up in the air.
And slowly but surely, we're building you guys a nice no-house advantage card. Our top play over there on no-house advantage is related to Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield right now has a 17.5-point line, and that's our highest expected win percentage of hitting the under at 65%. But do keep in mind with the situation with Miles Turner, that line might shift. But right now, the way things stand, we have him projected for 15.1 points and with a nice expected win percentage. The best right now that we have over there for no-house advantage. So like I said earlier, make sure to check out no-house advantage with that instant deposit match that we have going. And before we move on to the next game, hit that like and subscribe button for us. If you guys are new joining us, welcome. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And we have a lot to offer. Also, to make sure to check out the Odd Shop show that happens the hour preceding this on the Odd Shopper channel, where our team breaks down a bunch of exciting bets that happened throughout the night. A lot of the same guys you see here. Eric and Eitan just wrapped up earlier today, right? That's right, Jordan? There's those two guys? Yeah. You had over there breaking down tonight's betting action around all types of sports, hockey, NBA. So if you guys are trying to get your betting fix in, it's a nice little precursor so happening before the deeper dive. So hit that like button and subscribe button for us. And go on to the next game. Portland taking on Detroit. And any team that's taking on Detroit, going to have a lot of interest in targeting. And it's going to be Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard has been outstanding, 11-6 and 10-8. And Anthony Simons clearly came back a little too early from that injury as he re-injured that ankle. It's going right back to him at 11-6 and 10-8. Dame Lillard's just trying to get into the play-in game. He's not the type of guy who wants to tank. He's been vocal about that on Twitter. And Dame Lillard at these type of price tags, there's enough value to get to him. He looks like an outstanding spend-up option. But we have some solid value guards on this slate. How do we attack Dame Lillard specifically before we touch on the rest of Portland?
Yeah, I mean, Lillard looks great. You'll see his ownership, stay in check just because you do also have Embiid, you also have Jokic, you do have value guards, like you said, but it's pretty easy to get to him. He's pulling 22% ownership. I don't have a problem with that. If the slate started right now, I'd be around 26, 27%. So I think that's pretty much correct. And, I think there is some sticker shock at 11-6, but it's fully warranted when Nurkic and Simons are out. In the 4 full games he's played without those guys, you've got a 40% usage rate and also about a 38% assist percentage. And I know I've mentioned it previously on shows, but I buy into the usage rate, basically remaining that high because for one, there's nobody else that can really do much offensively outside of Jeremy Grant. Cam Reddish takes on a bigger role, but it's not like he's a great offensive player. And then beyond that, you just have a bunch of basically zeros on offense around them. And then also you have that really high assist percentage. So it's not a situation where you expect, the assist percentage to come up at the expense of the usage rate. He's just doing everything for this offense. And it makes him look really, really good, also playing huge minutes. So certainly happy to get right back to Dame here.
Yeah, and I think Dame makes for an outstanding spend-up option. There's enough value to go to. But let's talk about Jeremy Grant. And the rest of this team is garnering some ownership, rightfully so. They're playing against Detroit. Detroit news just came out. We'll touch on them. Some of these guys have been ruled out. But Jeremy Grant, Cam Reddish, not so enticed to go to Matisse Thybulle just because of the nature of his basketball game, but he can certainly get there with steals and blocks and hitting some threes. He's shooting more in Portland than he was in Philly, so that's a little different. But I like getting to Grant and Reddish at these type of price tags. They can certainly spike an upside game against Detroit because it's against Detroit. Another guy, Trenton Watford, is someone who's been playing a little bit additional run as the minutes are getting a little bit more equal between Eubanks and Watford. How do you feel about the rest of this Portland team as they're getting a lot of ownership, probably second highest like collectively compared to Boston on the slate. So it's going to be a big decision point among lineups tonight.
Yeah, it's also a spot that I think is going to be heavily impacted by what we see elsewhere. We did just get some Pistons news, as you said, so there's more value there. Like when you look at somebody like Cam Reddish at 4,300, shooting guard, small forward, pulling 34% ownership, probably going a bit over owned. We have him with a 23% chance of being optimal, and that number is probably going to come down, as is the ownership, as we get more value opening up. But certainly still a viable piece. You need somebody to step up outside of Lillard and Grant, and Reddish is the most likely guy to be the third offensive option because it's not Matisse Thybulle. The centers, Eubanks and Watford, aren't high usage guys. Nas Little, off the bench, Shaedon Sharpe off the bench. None of these guys are particularly high usage guys. So it is likely you see a bigger role for Cam Reddish than you typically would get. He's still reasonably priced. He has very favorable positional eligibility. So I think he's a good play, but also probably just going a little bit over owned. Jeremy Grant is fine at 7,100, has a path to a big game because he doesn't really have to compete with anybody other than Dame for shot volume. But of course, Dame is just taking so many shots that Grant is still has his work cut out for him, but reasonably priced at 7,100. The front court with Eubanks and Watford splitting 48 minutes, you can get to either of those guys. But as you alluded to before, you do have a lot of opportunity cost at center. It's not really a slate where, I expect to be happy getting like 24 points, from Eubanks, even though it would be about 6x. It's just, you're giving up so many points at the center position. So you need to be careful there, but they both look like decent value options. Thybulle offers a little bit of value as well. So this is a really popular team. It is a good matchup. They look good. Dame is my favorite guy to get to, but the team as a whole looks good.
Definitely with that situation with Portland, that ownership is going to evolve, especially with this Detroit news that we'll get to momentarily. But for those of you guys who are in Massachusetts, make sure to take advantage of pre-registration over there in Massachusetts, especially with BetMGM. You can find that link in the description. And also make sure if you guys do have a gambling problem to call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But take advantage of that exciting first bet insurance offer that we got going over there. The link in the description. I'm sure Jordan can lead you the right way. Exciting times for people in Massachusetts. Sports betting is a lot of fun. I fortunately have had some success there using a lot of the same tools that we hear, especially NBA Bet Pro has been I've had some pretty good success there. So make sure to check out that as well. Been pretty exciting results and returns over there. It kind of feels like a different sweat. The DFS sweat, it's still a lot more fun than the betting sweat. And it's just like, but it's a nice way to just kind of mix and match. They kind of go hand in hand with the projections, and seems kind of like a no-brainer not to sports bet along the way as I build my DFS lineups. But BetMGM offer, make sure to take advantage of that and hit that like and subscribe button for us. But on to the Detroit side we go. We got a lot of news that just broke down. No Killian Hayes, no Rodney Magruder. James Wiseman is a game time decision. That is going to shift the slate as it looks like right now. And it's going to open up some minutes and some opportunity for guys like Jaden Ivey, Marvin Bagley. Alec Burks is off the injury report. I expect him to play. It might get some extra minutes for a guy like RJ Hampton. I think Eugene Omoyuri signed with Detroit recently. He might crack the rotation. Isaiah Livers is there. Kind of still extremely short-handed team. How do we go to Detroit now with no Killian Hayes, no Rodney Magruder? And it's how many Diallo is going to look outstanding.
Yeah, it's going to make this team look good. You still have Wiseman questionable as well, which could open up even more. But I mentioned earlier that I thought Bagley was one of the best plays on the slate. He certainly doesn't get worse with that news. He would look even better if Wiseman ends up getting ruled out. But assuming Bagley remains in the starting lineup, he's 5,500 with power forward eligibility on DraftKings, pulling 44% ownership. I'd have him pretty much everywhere if the slate started right now. He looks great. Jaden Ivey should see his assist percentage go up a bit with no Killian Hayes. He's 5,900, but He was already pulling about 16% ownership with Hayes in. Now that probably comes up a bit with him out. You get more minutes here for Amadou Diallo. He's 4,900. There's a good chance you get Alec Burks in the starting lineup at 4,100. So he's going to offer some value. And then Wiseman at 5,200, not really impacted by anything else happening, but still another decent mid-range center option. So this is going to look like a very good team. You should have minutes available for Corey Joseph, Isaiah Livers as well, maybe RJ Hampton, like you said. Those guys are certainly less appealing to get to, but if you're playing a bunch of lineups in large field tournaments, you can still take shots on them as well.
Who do you think will be the highest owned on this Detroit team by the time slate locks?
Bagley.
Yeah, it's just in terms of just like the perspective of 5,500 Marvin Bagley. If you're building one lineup, would you rather have him in your lineup or a guy like Grant Williams? If you had to pick one or the other.
So, I mean, right now, if the slate started, I'd have 95% of both. Like, they're just they're the two guys that I was just building around.
You got to hit that like button. Adam just gave out the goods. That is some very insightful information.
Yeah. I mean, it'll change as we get more news, but like to me, they're the two pieces that I'm like for sure building around if the slate started right now. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Bagley.
No, that is some pretty strong conviction, right? I mean, to start with two guys 90+% on, you don't get that every night on an NBA, but as the season progresses, that can certainly happen. But keep an eye. Who do you expect to start?
All right. So Ivy, assuming Wiseman's in, Ivy, Wiseman, Bagley, Burks, Livers.
Yeah.
Does that work? Yeah.
Yeah, that could certainly work. It's Dwayne Casey. You never know what can happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could get the random Corey Joseph start, but typically his tendency is to bring Diallo off the bench. So I'm expecting that Burks and Livers start ahead of him, but then he still plays plenty of minutes.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that. And I think that will definitely change the ownership because live before lock, I believe this game starts at 6 Central, 7 Eastern. So I think that's something that we might not get that starting lineup. And for very limited time, we might get some low-owned Detroit starters who are in a decent spot on the other side of things. So that ownership is going to be extremely concentrated at that 7 p.m. Start time. I think a lot of the slate's ownership is going to be locked up to these 6 teams. So something to keep an eye on as we move forward. Any final thoughts on Detroit?
I just pulled up the numbers for Jaden Ivey without Cade Cunningham or Killian Hayes on the floor this year. About a 34% assist percentage. If you take Bojan Bogdanovic off the floor as well, so no Cunningham, no Hayes, no Bogdanovic, only 209 minutes, but 30% usage, 35.8% assist percentage for Ivy. He's averaged 1.06 DraftKings points per minute, but that's on 44.6% true shooting. If he manages to shoot the ball at all, make his shots at all, you're going to see that production come up as well.
Yeah. So just to clarify on Omoyuri, he signed a 10-day contract on the 3rd. So just a heads up. He did not play over the weekend. I don't think so. Did he play? Was he in the rotation over the weekend? Adam, do you know?
Who? Omoyuri?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. But yeah, he's on the roster, just another body as this team is pretty shorthanded.
Yeah, I mean, he played the entire fourth quarter in a blowout against the Cavs. But that was it.
That was over the weekend then, right? On Saturday?
Yeah, last game.
Okay. Yeah, so he did. So he got blower on. Yeah, I don't know how many minutes he might get, but keep in mind he is another body that can certainly play rotational minutes for this.
If Wiseman's out, I assume Omoyuri's getting minutes.
Okay. And and I know apparently they just got news that Buddy Boeheim is available to play for the Pistons. Yes, that is Jim Boeheim's son.
Tyrese Halliburton in, Aaron Nesmith out, Miles Turner still a game time decision.
Okay, we can circle back with the Aaron Nesmith situation with him being ruled out. Does that perk your interest in some of the backcourt wing guard players like your Duarte? Does he make him for a viable option? I feel like it's a little too cute for this slate.
Yeah, I think Jordan Nwora is the spot that I'd be most interested in. I mean, we got this yesterday. Nwora played 21 and a half minutes. Again, I think it's more likely he plays like 26 here. You got a weird second quarter rotation. Duarte played 22 minutes off the bench. So, yeah, I mean, Halliburton obviously is a bigger piece than Nesmith, and we have Halliburton in. So it's not opening up a ton, but it is going to make Jordan Nwora look like a decent value.
Yeah, that's a quick breakdown with the Pacers situation. Hit that like button for us as we cruise along in this slate. As we move on to the next game, Keep an eye on that Pistons starting lineup, live before lock, especially with Greg and Neil. They'll have a great breakdown of what to expect over there in Detroit. On to Atlanta and Miami we go. Another rematch of this team. I feel like they've played each other like 3 times the last week, it feels like. But it's Atlanta going to Miami. Miami is 2.5-point favorites over there. In the situation, well, on the Atlanta side of things, they're obviously led by the likes of Trae Young and DeJounte Murray under new head coach Quinn Snyder, as their rotation seems to iron out over there. A team that's not getting much ownership yet again. A team that's their highest owned player is Trae Young, around 10%, but everyone else is well below that. So certainly in terms of tournaments, it won't take much to get above the field on guys like who have decent upsides, and DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella. Guys like Hunter, Bay, and Bogdanovich aren't playing enough minutes. If you want to take a chance on Bogdanovich, if he has an outlier usage game off the bench, the minutes are just not enough. And we'll see what Quinn Snyder does with him going forward. But it's a situation here where I like taking my chances with Trae and DeJounte. I think Capella at 6,100 is fine to go to, but like I said, there's some great centers on the slate in Jokic, Embiid, Sabonis. So Capella's just kind of a casualty of that situation here. Talk to me about the Hawks as they take on Miami tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty difficult team to get to. Clearly, like you were saying, you have a nice ceiling from guys like Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, but this is essentially a healthy team on a slate where you have a lot of not healthy teams, whether that's the Pistons, the Celtics, potentially the Cavs, the Pacers to some extent, at least. So it's, the Blazers. So it's a tough matchup against Miami. It's a healthy team. It's pretty much correct pricing. So you're never going to be upset about getting the Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. Like you said, Clint Capella has a ceiling, but we've seen the center rotation under Quinn Snyder pretty much be the same as it was under Nate McMillan earlier in the year, where you're just getting like 26, 27 minutes typically from Clint Capella, excluding that one game where Okongwu was in massive foul trouble. So it's tough to really get to him at 6,100. I don't have a ton of exposure to this team right now. You have a really cheap John Collins, but his playing time's been down, and he's been bad this season anyway. Bogdanovich is cheap, but he's not playing a ton either. We saw Saddiq Bey get a ton of minutes off the bench last game, but at 4,700, I don't really have a ton of interest in getting there. This is a relatively unappealing team to me.
Yeah, and there's can certainly be one or two of these guys that might matter on the slate, but in terms of just grading out where the data suggests right now, they don't look that appealing. As we've touched on some great value already on this slate. And this team is very healthy. They don't have that going for them. They're ironing out kind of a newish rotation there, but it's something to keep an eye on. I mean, John Collins is all the way down to 4K. Can he certainly spike an upside at that? He can. He's going to be low owned. I'd be willing to take some chances, but doesn't grade out that great the way things stand right now. Onto the Miami side we go. Hit that like button for us. And also, if you have not checked out our lineup generator, I highly recommend it. A lot of people in our NBA Discord over there have had some very successful nights. Check out the lineup generator. If you don't want to check out the lineup generator, I strongly suggest checking out Stochastic Platinum, where you can get 50% off. You can find that off of any premium subscription in your the link in bio. So make sure to take advantage of that. And also just check out the lineup generator in that package as well. It's a little fun, nifty little widget to help you bring out and make some lineups. But onto the Miami side we go. This team is led by Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Butler's at 8,900, 8,800 on FanDuel. Getting a lot of ownership over there on FanDuel, just sub 40%. Tyler Hero comes in at 7,300. He's probably my favorite Heat player to go to over there on DraftKings. Just like the way he gets his 3-point upside bonus over there. He comes in at 7,800 on FanDuel. A little bit of a different story. Caleb Martin's getting a lot of ownership at 4,800. He's playing around. They haven't projected around 30 minutes over there against Atlanta. This team continues to be without Kyle Lowry, so Gabe Vincent's getting some burn at 4,200. He can find a way to pay off that salary, but right now, at around 30 minutes, he just doesn't get enough usage to do so when he's sharing the court with Hero, Bam, and Butler. One thing to keep an eye on for right now, I believe Kevin Love is out. So with Kevin Love being out, we're going to get in kind of an old-fashioned Miami Heat rotation from before the All-Star break. Break down the Miami Heat rotation today with no Kevin Love.
Yeah, good matchup for Miami. Love being out could certainly lead to more rebounding opportunities for Adebayo. We know that Love is a good rebounder. Caleb Martin should see more minutes at 4,300. He's projected for 13% ownership right now. That probably does come down since we've gotten some stuff opening up elsewhere since that ownership projection came in. But he looks like, a decent value option, but really interested in Hero and Bam. I'm with you on Hero. He's just playing huge minutes, $7,300, good matchup, projected for about 14% ownership right now. Gives you a nice ceiling in all of those minutes. And then Bam at 8,200, decent spot for him as well, 16% ownership. I'd be around double that if the slate started when this show started. So he looks good. You do have opportunity cost at center, but you should get a bunch of minutes from him. Again, I think he probably has a little bit more rebounding upside without Kevin Love as well. Jimmy Butler, he's always fine, but I do think he's quite a bit more difficult for me to get to at least than Bam and Hero are.
Yeah. And something, I'm just looking for just other tournament options. We have a great value already. Mixing and matching some of these high upside guys is kind of the way to attack this type of slate, in my opinion. One thing that's weird, Jimmy Butler's power forward only over there on Yahoo. So, but he's getting a lot of ownership over there, $36 for those who play over there. Interesting to see Jimmy Butler get that eligibility over there. I haven't seen Jimmy Butler have power forward eligibility on Yahoo ever, so it seems like a new development. Any final thoughts on this game, Adam?
No.
Yeah, just some low-owned options in Atlanta, extremely low-owned options in Atlanta, but some solid options over here in Miami, especially on FanDuel, getting quite a bit of ownership as we go. Per Joe Mazzulla, Malcolm Brogdon will not have a minutes limit, so I expect right now we have Malcolm Brogdon projected around 26 minutes. And I think our data and tools team might bump him up around 28, 29, if not 30. That makes Brogdon look even better at that price tag. I know you mentioned him earlier. I think that ownership is going to go up drastically with that type of news and notes from Missoula. Just let me know when we're good. Was it me? Okay.
Way to go, Jordan. You feel like an asshole right now?
What have you been streaming? All those OnlyFans subscriptions can wait, Jordan. All right. We're good? Our apologies. They're just feeling with some technical difficulties as producer Jordan got the refresh to go. I think we should be back. We'll circle back and touch on the Malcolm Brogdon situation. I was bringing that up. We got news from Joe Mazzulla saying that he will not be on a minutes limit. So right now, we're projecting right around mid-20s. Expect our data and tools to update. It wouldn't shock me if they even up him to around 30 minutes at the minimum. That gives Brogdon the upside of potentially it would shock me to see Brogdon play mid-30s minutes. But that's on the table, in my opinion. It's been a while since we've seen Brogdon play these type of minutes, but he's simply too cheap at 5,700. So even at 5,600 on FanDuel looks even better. Any your 2 cents on Malcolm Brogdon's minutes update from Joe Mazzulla?
I mean, it certainly is nice to hear that he's not on a minutes limit. He's played 3 total games this year without Tatum and with Jaylen Brown. He's averaged 29 and a half minutes per game in those games. Not sure if Marcus Smart played, but I think that, Marcus Smart played those games as well. So I think the range of outcomes is still pretty wide, but, good point per minute guy, likely to play upper 20s. Looks pretty good. And again, I don't really know why he's not getting more ownership.
Whoever has the best response to why Jordan Klein's Ethernet was lagging, you can tag me on Twitter and me and Adam, and we'll give out a free week membership to whoever has the best reason why Jordan's internet was lagging. We'll do that. And make sure to be following us to be eligible and the Stochastic account. But whoever has the best response why Jordan's internet's been lagging today, we'll hand it out. And being funny counts. Me and Adam will figure that out, and we'll award a winner later tonight. But yeah, that's the update with Joe Mazzulla over there. As we move on to the Toronto and Denver game, and Toronto's traveling to Denver, and this Toronto team is going to be interesting to target. This team's been having a different rotation with the Acapurdo back in the picture, but he's only $6,400. He's going to be asked to play as many minutes as he can against Jokic, in my opinion. But the rest of this team is priced appropriately slash too expensive. They just don't grade out as good plays. Another team like it feels like Atlanta here, sub 10% ownership across the board. Can certainly one of these guys be outstanding? Yes, but it doesn't seem so. I just don't think they have that type of ceiling and at this price tag to do that type of damage to our lineups. And I'm not too scared to be fading them. Over there in FanDuel, it's a little different story. Van Vliet's around $8,200. Expect that to drop with the Brogdon news, the projected ownership to drop. But how do you feel about this Raptors team? Another team feels like Atlanta. Just seems like the same situation.
Yeah, healthy team. No glaring price mistakes. Clearly, if you get to some Pirtle or some Van Vliet or some Siakam, there's nothing wrong with that. Same for Anunoby and Barnes. Like these guys are going to play big minutes. They're just pretty much correctly priced on a fully healthy team. So I think it's pretty much just a secondary tournament team where you can use them in individual lineups here and there to be different and still maintain a high ceiling. But I don't think there's anything that I would point to, as a priority here. There's no player on this team that I'm expecting to get a lot of tonight.
Yeah, just going to be a low-owned team across the board. Don't expect a team that's healthy. Like we're not right now in March, and especially in NBA DFS, we're looking for teams that are shorthanded. For targeting healthy teams, it's just they're going to be constantly projected to be low-owned, but certainly have some sort of upside here. But on the Denver side, it's Nikola Jokic, 11-8 and 12K. He's been hooping. In your opinion, do you think Jokic deserves MVP if the season ended today?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I completely agree with you there. He's been absolutely outstanding. Kind of rooting for the Nuggets. If they can find a way to get to the finals, I think they certainly have all the capabilities to do so. They have a decent bench with Bruce Brown coming off the bench. We'll talk about Bruce Brown, especially because of the Michael Porter being questionable situation. With Porter Jr. being questionable, do you think Bruce Brown Jr. enters the starting lineup?
Yeah, if Porter's out, I would expect Brown to start, and he is shooting guard small forward eligible at 3,900, so he would offer some value there. He even, in large field tournaments, I think you can use him as a value play off the bench, even if Porter's in. But if you get him in the starting lineup, that certainly bodes well for his playing time and is going to make him look like a better value. Granted, he's not a high usage guy, and he's still going to be out there with, Jokic and Jamal Murray, so you don't expect him to get a lot of usage, but he just contributes in a variety of ways. He rebounds well enough, gets defensive stats. He gets enough assists where he doesn't need to be a high usage guy to still produce from a DFS standpoint.
Yeah, chat's having a field day with the reasons why. It's pretty entertaining to see. Did you see any good ones?
I had not.
Something to keep an eye on. Jordan, do you have any favorites? Damn, Jordan Klein calling the chat soft. Wow, there's about 2,200 people, 1,800 people watching. Wow, just sending them strays, calling you guys soft. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think they've had some good ones, but hit that like button for us. Yeah, the Michael Porter Jr. situation is going to open up things for Bruce Brown. But everyone else, I'm not that excited to go to. I like going to Jokic just because it's Nikola Jokic. He could put up an 80 spot. Doesn't matter. But that's really about it. Do you have a preference between Jokic and Embiid?
I prefer Embiid. If the slate had started when this show started, I actually wasn't getting to Jokic, and I was getting quite a bit of Embiid. It's just that Embiid's a little bit less expensive, has the really good matchup against Indiana, might be an even better matchup by the time that game starts, depending on Miles Turner's status. They're similar enough in ownership as well that I'm pretty much just taking the better value when I think the better value is in Embiid. If you see that ownership change a bit, then Jokic starts to become more interesting. But right now, I prefer getting to Embiid.
Yeah, it's I think could be one of those nights where Jokic might come in under-owned, and the best type of Nikola Jokic is the under-owned Nikola Jokic. So I think I'll find a way to get to a little bit of Nikola Jokic by the time the slate comes around. Any final thoughts on this game?
No.
Yeah, it's just it just feels different. Usually, like we have these late night slates with like a bunch of news pending, but all the news is early on tonight. So it feels a little East Coast special, as we might know the fate of our lineups come 9 p.m. based on the ownership, the way it's dictating. Onto the New Orleans and Sacramento side of things we go. New Orleans continues to be remained without Zion Williamson, Josh Richardson, Jose Alvarado continues to be out. I think Zion's supposed to return next week, so that'll change things up in pricing for sure. Ingram certainly picks up the usage without no Zion. 8,600, 8,500 on DraftKings and FanDuel. He looks like a solid option to go to. You know the usage is going to be there in a Sacramento spot. Valanciunas, I believe, practiced yesterday. He comes in at 6,500 in a Sabonis spot. I think he's can certainly potentially might find a way to delay those upsets in the high 20s. You certainly will like that. And just taking a look at other guys with no Richardson, Trey Murphy comes in at 4,400. He's getting quite a bit of ownership right now. I certainly understand the reasoning why, but I don't know if I want to get to that type of ownership, especially for Trey Murphy. I like getting to Ingram over McCollum. I think the ownership dictates that as well. But a team that's taken on Sacramento in a great game environment, how do you feel about this Pelican spot tonight?
Yeah, I like the Pels a ton here. They are shorthanded, like you said. No Richardson, no Alvarado, obviously no Zion. You have Joe Val questionable, which is its own thing. You know, if he's out, that potentially opens up Hernan Gomez and or Jackson Hayes. But assuming Joe Val plays, you still have a lot of minutes available for these wings. 4,400 for Trey Murphy, 25% owned. I don't have any issue with that ownership. Herb Jones at 4,300 should get plenty of minutes. Najee Marshall at 3,600 offers some value as well, most likely coming off the bench, but could be in the closing lineup if they close small. We've seen them close small without Valanciunas the last couple of games. If Valanciunas is in, we don't really know what they're going to do, but they could still close small. Valanciunas himself right now only projected for about 2% ownership, probably in part because he's questionable, but you have no Larry Nance either. So in games without Nance this year, Joe Val has averaged around 28 minutes per game compared to 24 minutes per game with Nance. If you expect that he plays around 26 minutes or so, 26 to 28 minutes, he's going to look like a good high upside option at very little ownership and a good matchup against Sacramento. I really like getting to this team. Ingram, I'm getting a ton of, getting to McCollum as well, but getting more Ingram than McCollum.
Yeah, this is an exciting late night hammer. I think certainly huge tournament upside spots across the board for this New Orleans team. You guys can get those likes up to 500. That'd be fantastic. And that'll make the jobs of Greg and Neil a lot easier, as they'll be able to spend more time to give you the in-depth breaking news analysis that you guys need for your lineups tonight. But onto the Sacramento side we go. The Sacramento Kings are a game away from the second place seed in the West. That's pretty crazy to think about. I don't know what Mike Brown's Coach of the Year odds are. I don't know if he's even like in the top 3 of being favored or if he's even favored, but he's done quite a nice job over there in Sacramento in his first year. Kind of build out a decent team where I'm not sure if they can win a series, but it's exciting for Sacramento to be in the playoff hunt for sure. It's been pretty much almost 15 years since Sacramento has been in the playoffs. So that's something to keep an eye on. De'Aaron Fox is questionable. I believe he made shoot around this morning based on the news on Twitter, but it's a great game environment. This total sits at 237.5. I believe this is the highest on the slate the way things stand right now. With De'Aaron Fox being questionable, you can certainly play Fox. It's an elevated price tag, but Sabonis has a great upside. But outside of Fox and Sabonis, it kind of feels like Harden and Embiid light in Sacramento. Like you can expect the upside games from them, but then there's a volatile trio in Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, and Malik Monk, where one of those guys can have like a upside that spike that would matter, but it's so difficult to nail who nails it. And sometimes I just like try to lean on whoever's going to be low on taking some chances there. But how do you feel about this Kings team outside of Fox and Sabonis? I think those guys are all great tournament options. They certainly have the upside, but everyone else, give me your 2 cents on the Kings.
Yeah, so Mike Brown is the favorite to win Coach of the Year. He's minus 190. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, Sabonis and Fox, like you said, certainly plenty of upside in tournaments. Not the easiest guys to get to at their respective price tags, but that does keep the ownership down. Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk. These guys are all cheap enough, all on DraftKings between 4,600 and 5K, where they have a path to success. It is a good game environment, but none of them really stand out. They're all pulling 5 to 10% ownership. I see it the same way. I don't mind getting to a little bit of Barnes or Huerter or any of these guys really to differentiate, but like I'm going to be building around the Pelicans wings before the Kings guys because there's more playing time available, and those guys are a bit underpriced. But I do think that you can look to Sacramento in tournaments just at, pretty low ownership in what should be a fast-paced, high-scoring game.
I got to give credit, chat. Jordan, they took that comment personally once you called them soft. They got better. Do you have a favorite? Did anyone hurt your feelings?
You guys all hurt my feelings, so we're just going to keep it moving. I don't know. There's not one in particular that I enjoyed, but I appreciate you guys,
We're just trying to do a little producer roast. All in good spirits. On good spirits. Oh, by the way, Jordan Klein has a phenomenal view. He has a phenomenal view. I think Adam has seen it in person. I've seen it on Snapchat and Instagram many times. But he has a killer view of the marina. So he does well for himself. He lives the good life.
His aunt has a better view.
Sorry?
His aunt has a better view.
Oh yeah, we don't talk about the aunt. We don't want the chat to know about the aunt. Let's chill on that. The chat can think about their aunt whatever they want. So yeah, we don't need to spill all the secrets of Jordan Klein. But yeah, the aunt does have quite the view over there. We'll let chat imagine what the aunt view looks like. But this Kings team, it's going to be a spot to target in tournaments. But any final thoughts on the game? We have some few minutes to kill. We'll maybe touch on a lineup generator trial or preview type of situation.
No more thoughts for me on this game.
Jordan, do you have the capability of just pulling up lineup generator and just showcasing what it is? Yes, Allrat14 sent us a super chat with the Michael Porter situation of if Michael Porter is out, do you go to Bruce Brown or Grant Williams on DraftKings?
What was it?
If Michael Porter is out, do you go to Bruce Brown or Grant Williams on DraftKings?
Probably both.
Yeah.
I would still lean Grant Williams, but Bruce Brown would certainly look better.
You do say $500, and $500 is a decent amount of money on this slate because there's some solid studs to pay up for. I think you can do a lot with those $500. But let's say I think the ownership, I don't think we get the Porter news before lock. There's a really good chance you get Bruce Brown Jr. at, I don't know, a fifth of the ownership of Grant Williams, just because we just don't have the news yet. So in terms of kind of just an ownership play, and I want to say Bruce Brown has a higher upside than Grant Williams, so I'm going to go with Bruce Brown. But the way things stand, they're very, very close. And what Adam said first, you can certainly play them both. I think they look like outstanding options to go to. As Jordan pulls up lineup generator, we can build one together. You have it up, Jordan? Okay. Let's do DraftKings. Yeah, this is the new tool that you can check out if you sign up for the Stochastic Platinum. You get 50% off your first week. It's linked in the bio. Make sure to take advantage of that. Let's do tournaments. Adam, are you feeling chalky, balanced, or contrarian?
Go with the balanced one. See how that looks. Actually, go with the contrarian one. People were talking about that this morning.
All right, let's do contrarian. You want to lock anyone, Adam?
No, just see what it gives you.
All right. You can skip it. All right, so first line, we got James Harden, Diallo, Caleb Martin. Oh, this changed. Okay. Marcus Smart, Alec Burks, Diallo, Martin, Embiid, Tyler Hero. Scroll down. Matisse Thybulle and Bam Adebayo. I love the lineup outside of Matisse Thybulle.
Yeah, I'll say it looks pretty good to me. Okay, yeah. So Harden at the top. Wait, this is a totally different lineup, right?
It changed. Yeah, it changed. It goes Marcus Smart, Diallo. Jordan, can you scroll up again? The lineup.
Smart, Burks, Diallo, Martin, Embiid, Hero, Thybulle, Bam.
Yes.
Yeah, looks good to me.
So that's one way you can play around here. You can change up the projection. There's a bunch of sliders that, however you're feeling, you can really adapt and adjust based on our team's
I don't love
many.
not having any of that Sacramento game.
Yeah, that's a good point there. But like Adam said, he can really adjust to what he wants. He can save lineups, discard lineups. It's kind of your lineup concierge experience of just building the lineups you want, building the lineups you want to submit. Really elevates your lineup building experience. And the longest time, I mean, people have been asked like, "Hey, we want lineups." I mean, here you go. We're giving you the goods here. So definitely adjust and build it based on what you want and what you think is going to take you to the top. And we have that situation built out for you. So make sure to check out that lineup building experience. If you guys can get us to 500 likes, that'd be fantastic. As before we send this off to live before lock for Greg and Neil. And check out all these offers in link in bio. And everyone can stop giving Jordan Klein giving him a hard time. He's a fantastic producer. A joy always to work with. And also, a joy to do another show with you, Adam. Any final thoughts on this slate?
A lot's going to change probably as we get news in the next hour. So be sure to keep live before lockup and listen to those guys.
Definitely. Thank you so much for all of those guys that you tuned in. Sorry for those technical difficulties, and good luck tonight.
Yo, it's that time of week again where we are inducting you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame, doing all the bragging for you so you don't have to do it yourself, to all these thousands of people watching right now. And of course, giving out free months of Stochastic Plus Platinum, every single sport for the entire month, $120 value right here on the Hall of Fame. And all you got to do to get involved, download the avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. And if you're EMAC, download the new one on Yahoo, man. Come on now. And use it wherever you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, No House Advantage, Prize Pick. Doesn't matter where it is. Use it. And when you win, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, or just have a big hit and you want to show it off, tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. Get your free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum and get into the Hall of Fame. We kick it off this week with Avi. Man, Avi's had a couple nice wins recently. Honest Avi with $10,000. A very simple thanks, fellas, to Stochastic Hall of Fame. Huge win, man. Congratulations in that one. And actually, matter of fact, that was, one entry. One entry. Okay. Love it. Third out of 30,000 people for Avi. And Jake Hari coming up next. Our own Jake Hari had a bunch of New Jersey 2, PP 1, all that good stuff stacks last night, which put me in a good spot to get lucky with one of the few Gibson Duck stacks in my crunch. 5,000 for Jake. He just punched the ticket to the live final recently as well. Arnold took down another one. Thank you guys. $2,000 in the college basketball big jam, followed up by our own Pete McCarthy, $20,000. Again, man, change that avatar, brother, but still $20K in the fantasy millionaire and NASCAR millionaire. Congrats to Pete. And EMAC, $4,000. Come on, EMAC. Celebration begins in the wee hours of the morning. That daily NBA DFS building blocks article is still somehow free. Yes, his article, a popular one, free every day at stochastic.com. Seems like a must read, he said. A little self-promotion from EMAC, but I appreciate it. And Professor, nice little afternoon pump using the Stochastic NBA brains. Huge, $1,000, second place in the NBA shot, followed up by Rod Dog would make a lot more sense there. Second time in the Hall of Fame. Thanks, Stochastic. $600 win. And Arnold back in the same day on this one. I had a good weekend. Thank you guys. 200, 532, 100. Some big wins for Arnold coming in twice. And Laura Cope, I don't always play PGA DFS, but when I do, I am in a twosome with Stochastic, and this is how I approach the green. Thanks. $100 win. First place in the dime. Not easy to win that one. A lot of entries. Philip Still, thank you guys for the great content. Not a big hit, but 17 in the 617 isn't bad. Thanks, Lafayette and Josh, for the insight. You're damn right, man. Congratulations. And Mitchell W. King. Always enjoyable and informative information to listen to Eric and Greg on Live Before Lock. first place in the quarter jukebox. And you guys know, doesn't matter if it's a nickel, a quarter, a dime, as long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting up here and you're getting the free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. John Harbison, we want to give a big shout out to the whole family, Stochastic Hall of Fame. You guys are running the show and bringing folks along with you. Third place in the high five, $500. And finally, Michael Diaz, double OT, and a field goal made from Kawhi or Fox knocked me out of first. Late swapping to 7% Isaiah Joe made the difference. Thanks for the content. 150, third place in the mini max. Remember, stochastic.com/avatar. Download it. Use it anywhere. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF, and we'll see you back here next week.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic NBA Live Before Lock Show. Monday night, I'm here. I'm joined by Neil Orfield. Eric was over on the Odd Shopper channel. He's doing that new live betting show we have, which if you guys haven't checked out yet, it is every single weekday from 4 to 5 Eastern time. So go check out our Odd Shopper channel, subscribe to it, and watch all the live shows that we're doing there. And so since Eric isn't here, it's going to be myself, and I'm joined by the flannel god himself, Ray Charles, over there. So it's him and I. We're going to be breaking down the NBA slate. As you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let Neil the flannel god know whatever it is you think about his sunglasses today. He's trying out a new look. And Neil, what's going on here? The people are going to have questions.
I mean, did you see Rinpack on the last show? Rinpack had the sunglasses on. You know, they say you should dress for the job you want. I just want Rinpack. I just want to be Rinpack. Like he crushes NBA DFS. He occasionally will jump on a show, does a little stuff behind the scenes, but like, man, that guy lives the life. So I'm just trying to dress to have Rinpack's job, whatever that is.
Well, your current outfit is you're wearing a flannel, you're wearing a hat that I can't see what the logo is, and then you're wearing sunglasses.
Scotch-Brite. It's a Scotch-Brite hat.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know what job it is that you were dressed for, but I guess it might as well be DFS. And whatever you guys think, whatever it is that you guys think about Neil and his new sunglasses look, throw it into YouTube chat. I'm going to be reading them. Good chance that some of these come out during the course of the show. And also shout out to No House Advantage. They are sponsoring our show today. If you guys haven't signed up there, there's a really easy way to do it now. You just head on over to NHA, use the promo code Greg, and it's going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. We're going to talk about more about No House Advantage later on the show. If you guys have questions, throw them into the Discord channel. I'll be answering them as we go. But Neil, how are you doing today? Because you do look cool, but how you feeling? How's everything else?
Yeah, everything's good. You and I, we did the So Rare show earlier today, got back on that, doing that show. Yeah, everything's good. I'm excited for this slate. I think we've still got some potential important news coming out, and we already have some important news, so that's kind of exciting. The only downside to wearing the sunglasses, I can't really see anything.
Yeah, I've also found that to be the issue with wearing sunglasses inside. That's how Tony Ferguson blew out his knee like the 5th time that him and Khabib Nurmagomedov were going to fight. And by the way, there are some strong comments in YouTube coming at you already, Neil. This is the kind of stuff that I like to see in here. So we got Sotex. The future's so bright, Neil has to wear shades. That's it. He's a big star now. He's a big star. You put him on Live Before Lock for a week and a half, and this is what happens. He starts wearing sunglasses inside. Some of these exactly. I can't read. The comment god, just thinks you're the Unabomber. A good look alike.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that one as well.
The beard's kind of getting a little scruffy.
Krill fingers. Neil is dressed to be a bouncer at a lumberjack orgy.
That sounds fun.
Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming over the course of the
We got
show.
a super
And
chat.
also, a super chat here from Benjamin Riley. Something happened to Neil at Mall of America. He's come back a different man. Did you buy those shades at the Mall of America?
No, these are actually prescription sunglasses. I never wear sunglasses because obviously I have glasses. So finally, this past year, I went in to get my eyes checked for the first time in like 6 years, and somehow my eyesight had like not changed one bit. So actually, the glasses that I wear most regularly are the glasses I've had for forever. But I also got these prescription sunglasses while I was there. And yeah, what happened to me at the Mall of America is I got Mexican food 3 nights in a row this weekend. So we had my wife and I went up for Mexican on Friday night. Saturday, we had plans to go to the steakhouse at the Mall of America for my friend's birthday. He texts us like right after 7:00, right before the reservation. Hey, change of venue. We're going to this Mexican place in the Mall of America. And then the next day we wake up and my wife's sister has texted her to say, hey, it's Dad's birthday. Do you want to go out for Mexican here in the suburbs? So we went out and got Mexican 3 nights in a row. And I am...
That explains the bathroom trip right before the show started. I mean,
exactly, because that's a new thing.
You're getting Mexican food at the middle of the mall. That's playing with danger for sure. That's fighting with some danger. Weatherman 7 has left us a super chat. It's got a sticker in it. It is a sexy pair, and we used to get these from Weatherman 7 a good amount, and that's how I learned what stickers are. This is a pair. It is waving and saying, "How's it going?" So thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Another one from Greg Magruder. This is myself, obviously. You look like you're going to a NASCAR race. Legitimately. I've been to a lot. I've never been to a NASCAR race before. Neil looks like somebody goes to NASCAR races, but knowing Neil, I feel like he's never gone to one. He just looks like he should be at them.
That is very correct. I have the look of a lumberjack. I mean, I have chopped wood before, but like sparing. My little brother actually chops wood, like loves doing it regularly. I look like a lot of things that I am not, I think. And
by the way, Guitar Man 247, that's why Stevie Wonder wore sunglasses, although the guy had perfect vision. Guitar Man knows what's up. Stevie Wonder is not blind. We all know that. It's one of I don't believe in very many conspiracies. Stevie Wonder's a seer. He's got you guys all fooled. He sees just perfectly. Let's talk some NBA DFS as well as I'll keep an eye on the comments, but we've got NBA to talk about as well. And the injury reports today are fairly lengthy. I have some takes on some of them. De'Aaron Fox is questionable. I think he is going to play. Donovan Mitchell is questionable. He went through shoot around and he's on the court warming up as normal now. I tend to think Donovan Mitchell is going to be good to go. They say he's out on the court doing his normal routine. That to me is usually a pretty good indication that somebody's going to be good to go. We've got Miles Turner listed as questionable. Jonas Valanciunas is questionable. James Wiseman is questionable. Michael Porter Jr. is questionable. Tobias Harris is questionable. So, we're starting off the week with this slate with just so many players that are on the injury report, Neil, and a lot of them are in the early game. But are you going to be making any kind of, reservations in your lineups? Are you going to be holding any spots open in case we get news in the later games? Because New Orleans, Sacramento does officially have Fox and Valanciunas questionable. And then the Denver-Toronto game, we've got Michael Porter Jr. on the injury report. Is that on your mind at all as you're building lineups? And what kind of considerations are you making?
Yeah, a little bit. So, I mean, the fact that we have 3 games starting right at lock and then another game half an hour later, like we're not going to be saving like half of our roster for the later games. I might give a boost to Willie Hernan-Gomez or something just to try to reserve a spot in case J-Val is ultimately, in case you didn't see, we did just get, I see News God just retweeted. Jonas Valanciunas said at shoot around that he'll warm up pregame before decision is made on playing tonight. Valanciunas on defense versus Kings. We have to be able to stop. Okay, that's not relevant. But anyway, so still game time decision as of 1 minute ago, retweeted by News God. So we might be waiting on that one for a little while. Honestly, we have some decent value now. Some value has already opened up. So I don't really think it's necessary to save roster spots. I will say though, like if we get the news that Valanciunas and De'Aaron Fox are out, I think their replacements are going to be under-owned. Like if Willie Hernan-Gomez does end up starting this game, because we have so much value early on, a lot of people are thinking that same way of like, well, we've got so much value, we don't really need to save roster spots. That will lead to low ownership on a Hernan-Gomez or Jackson Hayes, who I will guess it's Hernan-Gomez who is starting if J-Val is out. So, and I do kind of like J-Val too. So I think I might give a little boost to Hernan-Gomez and make a rule that says, no more than one of Hernan-Gomez or J-Val and maybe save a spot there. But I don't really know that I want to save a spot for anybody on Sacramento in the event that De'Aaron Fox is out. I already liked him out of Sabonis. So like I'll already have some Sabonis in lineups. Davion Mitchell, I guess he did have the one good game when De'Aaron Fox was out recently.
Terrible.
Yeah, he has not been good for us, but he had one good game at the min value. Nobody played him, so that was nice. But I don't really see anybody else on Sacramento. I guess you could make a set of lineups that's like give a boost to Domantas Sabonis and Harrison Barnes, Herter, Monk, Keegan Murray, like all of these guys. You could give a little bit of a bump in a set of lineups, assuming that De'Aaron Fox is out, but it's not enough that I'm really going to factor it in a ton. How about you?
Yeah. So, a lot of times when I'm doing this, I'll also try to get a sense of, do I think these players are going to play or not? And at least for me, I think that I feel very strongly that Fox is going to play today. I feel very strongly about that. And then as for Valanciunas, I don't know exactly, but I think he's more likely to play than sit, just considering some of the implications for this game in the standings. You pull this up right here, and I'm going to be doing it, but the NBA standings right now, you've got the Pelicans are currently sitting 9th in the Western Conference, 31-33. They're up half a game over the Lakers for the 11 spot. And then you also look, they're only 2 games behind your Minnesota Timberwolves for the 6th spot. So there's a lot of shuffling that could happen in the Western Conference. And with less than 20 games left in the regular season, you need to get your guys out there. You need to win games now. I think teams are much more willing to let guys play at 75, 80% health now than they would have been a month or two ago. So I feel really strong just in summation here that De'Aaron Fox plays. And then as for Valanciunas, closer to 50-50, but I think he's more likely to play than not. And at the end of the day, I have to make decisions also based on what I think is going to happen. And if I think those guys are going to play, and I know that we have value earlier on in the games, I'm not willing to forego that in order to save roster spots when I think those guys are ultimately going to play. So that's how I'm going about building my lineups. Not always how I handle these situations. It is how I am going to today. And then we're going to get other news that's going to break over the course of the show, and probably during the course of the post-lock show potentially as well. So normal stuff, guys. We're going to be doing the show for the next hour, but then also 30 minutes after lock and 3 games. It's only a 6-game slate. Half of them lock right at the start of the slate here. And there's some potential injury news here. And like one of them, James Wiseman being questionable, that could be pretty significant. Same with like Miles Turner being questionable. So we're going to be glued to the news here. It's going to change a lot over the course of this show. We've got some super chats here to read. This is from Allrat14. As of now, who would be your lock on DK? And DK can't be Bagley. So he doesn't even know that this is a subtle dig at us from the other day with the whole Bagley situation. But if we had to lock one player on DraftKings, we have to pick somebody. It's not allowed to be Marvin Bagley. Who would be your choice?
Wait, what am I missing with the Bagley situation first?
We didn't like him the other day. And then while we were doing the show, he scored 1 million points immediately.
Oh, I didn't play him the other day because I did not change my lineups after he was in the starting lineup. Yeah, that's right. So if it cannot be Bagley, then did you say it also cannot be Alec Burks?
No, it sounds like your answer is going to be Alec Burks. I'm reading the tea leaves though.
Yeah, I think that's a good read. If it can't be Bagley, then it would be Alec Burks for me. He just projects 7.4x current value on Alec Burks, projecting for around 30 fantasy points at 4,100. He's by far our best value on the slate. So if you force me to lock somebody and it can't be Bagley, it would be Alec Burks for me. I don't see anybody else that I really want to be locking in here. Do you have a different answer there?
Yeah, I am going to go with, so this does have a little bit of a caveat to it, but I like Joel Embiid quite a bit for today. He's my favorite pay up option. And there's potential for no Miles Turner to be out there for the Indiana Pacers. So that's why it's kind of contingent on what ends up happening with Miles Turner. But Embiid's already my favorite pay up option. And if we get a scenario where Miles Turner's out, I brought this up, I bring this up every once in a while. One of the hardest things to do with projections is when a player is ruled out, how does it impact the other side of the game? Because it does have an effect, because Miles Turner is one of the better defensive big men we have in the NBA. If he is out, the front court defense for the Pacers is considerably weaker. It's hard to know how that should impact projections, but I mean, just logically, it's a much easier matchup for Joel Embiid. If I already like him, I already have him as my most rostered pay-up option. Stands the reason I should like him even more if Miles Turner's out. So we've got all the value in the world today to be able to pay up for whoever we want to. And the guy that I'm landing on the most is going to be Joel Embiid for today. But just out of curiosity, if you've built any lineups yet, do you have a preferred pay up option of the night?
So I have not built any lineups yet. Here, let me just run a quick set just to see what would happen. which I haven't changed any projections or anything. So this is really not all that indicative of what I would do. But yeah, Embiid is just on my first crunch, Embiid is the player who gets into my lineups the most of the pay up options.
There we go.
Doesn't tell you all that much. I could change that, but he projects really well point per dollar. And that's an interesting point there that he will look even better if we do get news that Miles Turner is out. I don't think there's anybody else on the Pacers that can guard Joel Embiid. So that's a good point.
The next question we have here is from Corey Shea, favorite value centers of the night. So if we were looking to save money at center, if we're going a little cheap, I've already said that Joel Embiid is my favorite pay up option at the position. If we're going cheaper, where would we look? To be honest, I don't think this is a great slate to go cheap at center. I don't think that's what you should be doing today. I mean, if we're going to consider Marvin Bagley a cheap center, particularly if James Wiseman is out, then I think Bagley would look really good. He is $5,500 though over on DraftKings. Like, are we considering him to be a
He's
value
also
center?
Power forward eligible. So you probably wouldn't put him in the center spot necessarily. I agree with you. Marvin Bagley would be the first place I would look if you consider him to be a value, but you can play him in the power forward spot. Mike Muscala, I would say, is one of our better point per dollar plays on the slate. He's just 3,300 projected for 21.5 fantasy points. Do you think Muscala gets a start here? We might get that news pretty soon.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility. He's made a start for the Celtics before. Let me go pull up some of the numbers from that start. But yeah, we got that game where Muscala started alongside Blake Griffin, if I'm not mistaken. I do think there's a pretty good chance that Grant Williams ends up starting alongside Blake Griffin tonight. For whatever reason, the Celtics do like going to Blake Griffin in a lot of these spots. And I would not be shocked if it's Grant Williams starting the front court alongside Blake Griffin. I kind of do expect that.
Okay.
If Mike Muscala does end up starting, then I'd feel better about him. Right now, though, I just prefer paying up at the position. There's nobody who I'm really getting a lot of at the cheap side. It's, like I said, my favorite pay up option on the slate right now is Joel Embiid. Also with you, I like Sabonis anyway. Like, Sabonis already looks good. If Fox was to be ruled out, which I don't think he's going to. So it's not going to matter all that much to me, but he would look better. I think Bam Adebayo is a really good center play today. Bagley as well. If James Wiseman ends up playing, he's somebody else we could consider, but his status is very much up in the air. But yeah, where I am generally, let's see, where am I saving money the most? Grant Williams is somebody I'm getting to. Once again, I think there's a pretty good chance he starts. Grant Williams played 45 minutes last night. That was an aggressive amount of playing time for him, but also goes to show what his run could potentially look like tonight for the Celtics. So my most roster cheap options right now are Grant Williams, Tyrese Maxey. If we're considering him cheap, he's somebody I like a good amount today. And then Trey Murphy's another cheap player that I'm getting to. So I wouldn't say that center is the spot you should prioritize spending down. It's kind of those other spots. But in those lineups you just ran, Neil, who are some of the cheap value options that popped up most frequently for yourself?
Yeah, so Alec Burks is my number one. So that's I got him in 97.5% of. I just ran 40.
Oh, by the way, and Burks for me as well too. I forgot to mention.
Okay, I was going to ask. I was like, man, we're far off there. Jaden Ivey looks pretty good. Wait, what is Jaden Ivey's actual price tag? 50. Yeah, I guess not really a value, but Hamidou Diallo looks pretty good. Yeah, I also get a lot of Grant Williams. These are all just guys who are great point per dollar plays in our projections. So yeah, Burks number one, Bagley number two, Maxey. If you count Bagley and Maxey, they'd be number 2 and 3, followed by Grant Williams, Hamidou Diallo, and then Reddish, Tybal, those guys. We do have a lot of. I don't feel all that comfortable with most of the value on the slate. Like Grant Williams, not a guy that I love to play if he's going to be chalky value, but I'll still probably have some. Like I don't love playing. How much is he actually? I was on the wrong 30% ownership for Grant Williams. Man, how many minutes does Grant Williams need to play to pay off his price tag? Just like we've got him for 32 and he projects for 22.5 fantasy points. Just not a great fantasy producer.
Yeah.
How much Grant Williams do you think you're going to play?
Pretty good amount, especially if he starts. He's so cheap in the position as well. Is his position eligibility on DK. He is small forward and power forward at 3,400 on a 6-game slate. That's really favorable. Over on FanDuel, I also think he looks really strong, $4,500. The one thing that makes him a little bit better of a play on DK than FanDuel, though, is he's only power forward eligible on FanDuel. A little easier to fit into lineups on DK where he's small forward and power forward. But yeah, I like him a good amount. And I agree with you. I don't think he's the best fantasy producer, Certainly hasn't been over the last couple of years, last year's playoffs notwithstanding, but it's the positionality, it's the price point, and that it's a smaller slate as well.
Right. Somebody in chat was pointing out, oh yeah, so No 11 says Grant Williams played 45 minutes last night in quotes, and he says no mention of double overtime. It's not really relevant to like whether he's exhausted from playing so much last night.
By the way, the other thing too is
within his.
I mean, even if somebody plays 45 minutes in double overtime, think of it in this way. That means he had potential to play 35 minutes in regulation, right? Like that's still a lot of playing time for somebody who's cheap. And now we've got extra guys out for the Celtics today. There's no Jason Tatum. There's no Al Horford. This is not a team that I think is all that committed to Grant Williams in the long run. They've been, at least per reports, pretty hesitant to give him a long-term extension. If that's the case, you might as well run him into the ground. And with a lot of players out, I wouldn't even be surprised if he plays garbage times. The game becomes one-sided. So I think that Grant Williams is a pretty serviceable value option today. And we got a comment here from Discord from our guy Richie G. Richie saying, first Rin Pack and now Neil Beer Pack Orfield coming straight from recording an episode in the new season of Duck Dynasty.
Nice. Richie actually hung out with me and Rin Pack at the Tournament of Champions last year. The three of us hung out a good amount.
You know, you could be like the not racist version of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Like I think that could be right now as well.
It's a really nice compliment. I thank you. And thank you for stipulating that I'm the not racist version. I don't know anything about Dog the Bounty Hunter, to be honest, except for what he looks like.
It's Norm Macdonald used to have a really funny joke about it. He goes, he's a bounty hunter. What do you expect from him? But the other thing too is it's just, you have a very, even with the sunglasses, like none of the pieces of your outfit fit, but it comes together to make a very wholesome image in some way.
Nice. All right. I'll take that.
But I can't imagine you don't have a beer next to you while you're wearing that.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. You could tell a lot. You could tell a lot from what somebody's wearing. Jordan in chat says, do you look like an undercover cop? Even for an undercover cop, it's too obvious. An undercover cop wouldn't go out in this because everybody would spot him immediately.
Where would I be going undercover in this outfit? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, the truck driver orgy from before.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
Yeah, you're just going to check to make sure.
So I'm not a real bouncer or anything. The lumberjack orgy, I thought it was. But I'm not an actual bouncer. I'm a cop undercover as a bouncer at a lumberjack orgy. Okay. Yeah, that tracks.
It's what you've been up to lately in that outfit. It makes the most sense. I think that it definitely tracks. Some more super chats we have from Jake Lewis. No house advantage is dope. Popped 270 yesterday on $20 worth of lineups. Greg, what is your free square for tonight for NBA props on NHA? Well, happy you asked there, Jake. And by the way, also, if anybody else wants to sign up in NHA, go use that promo code Greg for up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. I'm going to pull up some of the projections that we have over at stochastic.com. And by the way, if you guys want to sign up for NBA Bet Pro, which has projections for prize picks, has projections for house advantage, has projections for FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, any book you could think of, 7-day free trial using the link below to get access to all that 7 days totally for free. And while I am loading this page, all right, here we go. What's looking good over on NHA today? And then I'll also compare this to some projections. I'm trying to stall here. My computer's running a little bit slow. So I found the easiest way to fill time in the interim, I have found to be is just to comment on Neil's appearance. Nikola Jokic, by the way, under 10.5 assists is our number one rated prop for NHA. This is something I did bet at books this morning as well. I think it's a really strong prop bet, but something else also, there's no juice at NHA. And this is a really good thing to compare some of the numbers like prize picks, NHA to some books is look at something like Nikola Jokic, who off the top of my head is minus 138 over at DraftKings today for under 10.5 assists. Whereas if you're playing him over on NHA, there's no juice on that. It's just the line is 10.5 and you're not paying anything extra for the over or under. I love Nikola Jokic. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. He's one of the best passers we have in the NBA period. Something I was really surprised by looking at his numbers earlier, Neil. He has very few triple doubles with more than 10 assists. Almost all his triple doubles this year, he is exactly 10 assists. So even over the course of the last 9 games for Jokic, he has had 11 or more assists once, even though he's had 6 triple doubles. We even project for 9.2 assists today. And he's somebody who for the year is averaging 10 assists flat for the year. I think he's far more likely to go under 10.5 assists than over. So Jake Lewis, my favorite prop bet of the day for the NHA props against the house is going to be Nikola Jokic for under 10.5 assists. How do you feel about that, Neil? You like that?
Yeah, I really like that call. Yeah, for sure. If he's maxing out at 10 in most of these triple doubles, sounds good to me to take the under. And that just, this seems like a slightly too high line as it is. As we see, it wins 67% of the time. So sign me up.
There we go. So hopefully that helps you out there, Jake. And I'll give you a bonus one here as well. What's another one that we like looking through our projections? Michael Porter Jr., but he is questionable to play. Do we still have, let's see, do we have a Trey Murphy rebounds prop on here? Can they hear me still? Can they hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, most importantly, can they see Neil? That's really all they need to know.
You guys can't hear or see us?
No, this is actually all just a joke on you, Neil. Everybody could see everything fine. It's just the sunglasses. Oh yeah, L down. Shut up, Brandon Katz. Those are the messages there.
Yeah.
Refresh it, Jordan Klein. Sorry, guys, we're working on it. That was from you, Neil.
That was for me.
Oh fuck! I forgot to write Eric tears on my water bottle. I'll bring that out for when he.
Man. You got to get like a decal.
Yeah, no, I have. I wrote it on like a piece of paper, and I was gonna tape it to my water bottle. But it'll be better for when Eric's here for the first time. That's when I.
Right.
Welcome to my world, Jordan. When I drop out of streams all the time, and I'm confused as shit. It never makes sense to me either. I'm back.
We're back on the show.
Nice. Should I pretend this is the start of the show now? All right, guys. So apparently we dropped out for a second. I'm not exactly sure what the last thing you guys heard me say is. I think we answered Jake's super chat. I assume that's about the time that we ended up dropping out. By the way, we just got news. Tobias Harris has been ruled out. So
along with PJ Tucker.
I was mentioning the PJ Tucker one's going to be somewhat insignificant, but the Tobias Harris one, before I was talking about I like Joel Embiid and the potential for what would happen to him if Miles Turner is ruled out. Oh, very convenient of the news to wait until the show came back.
That was convenient.
This is another reason to like Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris, him being out, this opens up a little bit of usage for the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's actually look at some of the on-off court numbers for this team. I know Tobias Harris has been pretty underwhelming from a fantasy standpoint this year because he's a guy who's very reliant on scoring, doesn't really add a lot of peripheral stats, and then also has had to share usage with Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey this year. So it's led to a pretty lackluster fantasy season. But with that said, if we're taking Tobias Harris off the court and we're going to be replacing him by, I assume somebody's even lower usage than him, but this has to make guys like James Harden, Joel Embiid look better, at least in logic. But let's pull up some of the on-off court numbers and see what actually happens here. Who gets the usage bumps? Yeah, both James Harden and Tyrese Maxey have seen pretty significant usage bumps in the absence of Tobias Harris this year. Actually, to the point where per 36 minutes, Neil, James Harden is scoring 8.91 more fantasy points per 36 minutes, and Tyrese Maxey 6.63 more fantasy points per 36 minutes. So I think some of these other Sixers guys we're probably going to have to consider now. But how are you seeing this with Tobias Harris being out? And I guess PJ Tucker to an extent too, just because it's opening up minutes. So let's address the usage part. Let's address the usage part first. But as far as the pay-up options go, Embiid, Harden, Maxey more of a mid-range play. What do you make of those guys now?
Yeah, I mean, Harden looks great, just like gets that massive usage bump, as you said. If you take PJ Tucker, I took PJ Tucker off as well. In looking at it, he gets an extra 11.3 fantasy points per 36 minutes. And so Harden just gets a massive bump with Tobias off. Of course, I don't think we really need to factor in PJ Tucker as much as I probably did. And this just gives us a smaller sample size. But either way, he's getting a massive boost from Tobias Harris being out in a fantasy points per minute sense. Tyrese Maxey benefits both in terms of usage and minutes potential. I mean, he's already back in the starting lineup. I don't really know how much, if he sees any extra minutes now with Tobias Harris out, but it doesn't hurt. And he does get a usage bump as well. We already like Maxey quite a bit. So I think we will continue to like Maxey. Embiid looks like he gets a little bit of a boost. I should probably rerun this without PJ Tucker being off so that we have a larger sample size here, but I don't know. Do you think De'Anthony Melton is going to see more minutes here?
Very possible, because you look at the Lakers. The Sixers. This is not an especially deep team. And by the way, Donovan Mitchell listed available to play, so nothing to really have to update for that. But yeah, I mean, we have to consider that De'Anthony Melton. What is the price point here on Melton?
He's 4,500 on DraftKings.
Okay, that's a reasonable salary on FanDuel. Melton is 4,600 on FanDuel. Yeah, I think on both sites, especially considering the size of the slate and the fact that, this news is 30 minutes before the slate locks. Not that many people have been talking about De'Anthony Melton today. And once again, you just look at how thin the rotation is for the 76ers. They don't have a whole bunch of guys that they're willing to play big minutes off the bench. Oh, by the way, Miles Turner now available to play. So that's a piece of value we're not going to have to worry about. But yeah, I mean, we're getting a good amount of playing time opening up for the 76ers. The other thing too is PJ Tucker's a zero from a fantasy standpoint, right? The only person who likes PJ Tucker for fantasy is my dear friend Joey Corman. Outside of him, nobody likes PJ Tucker ever for fantasy. But he plays minutes, and those are minutes we have to give to somebody who probably is a much better fantasy producer than PJ Tucker. So even somebody like George Niang, I think, is a deep flyer off the bench. But then Melton now is somebody who I think is locked into in more secure minutes now.
Yeah, I actually think Melton becomes interesting. I mean, he already looked like a decent value. He was almost 5x, almost at a 5x projection when we just had him in for 25.5 minutes. We had him around 21.5 fantasy points, and that's prior to Tobias Harris being taken off. We just see a little bit of a bump. He becomes a pretty relevant fantasy asset here for the Sixers. So definitely an interesting bump there. Who gets the biggest bump for you?
Probably Harden, just because he's somebody who, now that we're looking at these on-off court numbers, really benefits. And he was somebody that I wasn't really playing before. Now, the thing I'm going to be conflicted with once I start building lineups is how many Sixers do I want in the same lineup? Am I willing to play Embiid and Harden together? It's a great matchup against the Pacers. It's going to be fast-paced. The total in this game is 233.5, the second highest on the entire slate. But I'll see once I start building lineups what kind of constraints I might have to put in, because based on some of these numbers, I might end up getting a ton of Embiid and Harden together, which might be a little bit concerning to me. But as we get more projection updates and whatnot, I'm going to be rerunning lineups. James Wiseman. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, do you see we just got a news dump with both the Celtics? We got the Celtics starting lineup. We got all the Pistons guys in.
Yeah, so we got James Wiseman is in, and the Celtics starting lineup is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought Grant Williams was going to start. Not the case. Smart, White, Brown, Muscala, Blake Griffin. That lineup is absolute garbage, but that's what the Celtics have to work with today. So, Mike Muscala starting, and that is going to make me like Grant Williams less. It's going to make me like Mike Muscala more than I did when we were talking about Boston, 16 minutes ago or whatever it was. So Muscala in the starting lineup, address it, because that's going to be the most important news. We just got the Sixers starting lineup. The Sixers, Harden, Maxey, Melton, McDaniels, Embiid is the starting unit. But let's talk about the Celtics first. With Mike Muscala starting, number one, what do you think of him? And then point two, what do you think about Grant Williams?
So I will say, I think I'm just completely out on Grant Williams at this point. Just if he's not starting, the only real reason to play Grant Williams is if he is going to play serious minutes. We had him projected for 32 minutes, and it was a great value, 6.6x at 32 minutes. But he needs all of those minutes. If he's not starting, he's probably maxing out, I don't know, around 28 minutes. I don't know what his absolute max would be. So I don't think I'm playing any Grant Williams at this point. Muscala, it's kind of unfortunate that we lose Grant Williams at small forward / power forward. Muscala, with the, now that he is for sure starting, looks a little bit better. But Muscala, if you look through his starts, he had one start where he played 44 minutes. That was the last start that Muscala made. He played 44 minutes, put up 31 fantasy points. But prior to that, 18 minutes to start prior to that, 16, 23, 24. He just doesn't typically, 17 before that, doesn't typically play a ton of minutes in a start. I actually was kind of shocked to see this 44 minutes the last time. I missed that game, apparently. I've never seen Mike Muscala these days getting that many minutes in a game. So I think more likely than not, Muscala is not going to be playing, 30 plus minutes here. I could be wrong. He played 44 the last time out. So apparently he has that in him. But
by the way, we'll add there was a lot going on in that game.
Okay.
So here was the injury report for the Boston Celtics in that game. Smart was out, Jaylen Brown was out, Tatum was out, and Horford was out, and the game went to overtime. That was why we got all those Mike Muscala minutes. Because here was the minutes everybody played in that game. Derek White played 43. Brogdon played 39. Sam Hauser played 39. Grant Williams played 47 and a half. And then we got the 44 out of Muscala. So a little bit, I wouldn't put too much into that one game.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because I don't really want to be forcing Muscala into my lineups. But I think it's worth noting that he's just not that great, even as a starter. Probably not playing more than, 22 minutes or so anyway. Somebody in chat points out that Grant Williams did not start yesterday and did play 45 minutes in that game. And that obviously there's double overtime, but still, as you said, that means 35 minutes in regulation. I don't think that it's the likeliest scenario. I think that it's pretty unlikely that Grant Williams plays that many minutes again. Played 17 the game prior, 16 the game prior to that. They are missing some bodies, so I guess it's a possibility, but feels a little bit fluky to me. Do you think that Grant Williams, like, are you still playing Grant Williams, and do you think that there's a good odds that he plays a lot of minutes here?
So his ceiling for playing time is capped now, right? It's not capped at like 26 minutes or anything. But the upper bound limit of his playing time is not what it was before. And I thought there was a chance that Grant Williams was going to go out and play, like 40 minutes or something like that. That's off the table. It's going to make me like him less for sure. I assume he's going to be in my player pool, but I'll probably end up being underweight to the field just based on what our last run of ownership was when I end up rerunning my laps, because I just have to give some Grant Williams minutes to Mike Muscala now. It's going to make Muscala look better, going to make Grant Williams look worse. And Grant Williams was expected to be really popular. By the way, Jordan, here we go. Jordan sent me. I was going to ask for the super chats because they kind of got buried in YouTube for me once we went down. But Mr. CoolCam97 wants to know top 5 plays for FanDuel single entry. So for me in the run of FanDuel lineups, I have here Alec Burks popped up a bunch. I think Embiid does not look nearly as good on FanDuel as he does on DraftKings. Still looks good on FanDuel, but he can only play one center. So a little bit different of a scenario for him there. But players overall I got to the most: Alec Burks, Derek White, Jimmy Butler, Marvin Bagley, and Jaden Ivey were the players I got to the most in FanDuel when I had lineups that I ran last over there. The next question is from Ace of Spade, wants to know who the favorite DK tiers guys are for me. Got it right here in front of me. Tier 1, Joel Embiid. Tier 2, Domantas Sabonis. Although with that said, Harden might be passing Sabonis if I was to do a rerun right now. So I'm actually going to say Harden over Sabonis for tier 2. And I expect Sabonis would also be more popular. So Harden, I think, is a pretty good pivot in tier 2. Tier 3, Jimmy Butler. Tier 4, Bam Adebayo. Tier 5, Miles Turner now that he's in. And then tier 6, a risky one. Jonas Valanciunas is, to me, overall the best option, but he's also questionable. Right, so you're rolling the dice a little bit there. Are you willing to play with fire in the injury? Because if he gets ruled out, it's going to be a little bit harder to make some swaps there. So if you're not comfortable with the injury on Jonas Valanciunas, then Jaden Ivey, to me, is the next best option. So hope that helps you with your tiers lineups there, Ace of Spade. The next question I have is from Sir Ruin of House Roundhead. I was at the DC Defenders game yesterday. The fans made multiple large snakes made of beer cups and then threw lemons on the field. Prepare yourself, Neil.
Yeah, I decided that I'm definitely not a fan of DC because I really dislike Greg Williams. I do love, I want to be a fan of DC because I do love that fan action of doing the beer snake and throwing lemons on the field. They did continue to do it without any reason in the last game. So that was, I don't know. I don't like it as much when there's no reason, but the beer snake is cool. Yeah, just don't like the team because I don't like Greg Williams. Did you notice that Alec Burks is not starting now for Detroit, which is a bummer as far as I'm concerned. I thought Alec Burks would get the start. They started Corey Joseph instead. That's a bummer because I don't really love Corey Joseph. He's just not a great fantasy play. I feel like it cuts Alec Burks down a little bit as a fantasy play. Like, I no longer want to lock Alec Burks when he's not starting. I think he's still in play at 4,100, but it's kind of an ownership play for me. Does the ownership come down enough?
Yeah, so we don't have an ownership update yet, do we? Because we just had a massive news dump with a lot of stuff. I'm going to be curious to see what the ownership is. If he's still massively popular, he's clearly significantly worse because there's a good chance with this being 20 minutes to go into lock that his ownership doesn't change significantly.
Right.
We did get a question, by the way, also from Noah. He said, when you're looking at the lineup generator, when do the stats update? When does ownership update? Also, when everything updates on the site, when our projections, our ownership, and all that updates on the site, it's going to be updated in the lineup generator as well. So that's a good thing to base it on. But with that said, I don't think that's a bad note. I'm actually going to request to our data team and ask if we could get a timestamp on it.
That'd be nice.
I think it's a decent idea. So Noah, thank you for the question in Discord. And we will, I'll see if I could actually forward that to the guys and see if we can do something with that. Mincash Merchant said, I just realized the best time to start making lineups at 5:30 because the injury reports. And then Mincash Merchant says that he is today's dunce of the day. No, it's a smart observation. The dunce of the day makes no smart observations.
So we didn't touch on the fact that Jalen McDaniels is starting. I just want to say real quick, it's kind of interesting. 0.85 fantasy points per minute. I'm guessing that comes down a little bit, but he's 3,900 if he plays 30 minutes. I kind of like Jalen McDaniels for the Sixers here. Just want to sneak that in there before lock.
Yeah, so we didn't get to the Sixers yet, which we could right now because now we do have officially that starting lineup with McDaniels being in. And I thought there was a chance that before, like I said, like George Niang could be a deeper tournament play. McDaniels is going to be popular now, I assume, once we get ownership updates, but it's going to be warranted. And once again, that starting lineup for the Pistons is Ivy. Oh, no, Burks is starting now. What is going on? We just got a new starting lineup for the Pistons.
We did. I like this one way better. Easier.
Other than the fact that is this just nonsense? We have to deal with a new Pistons starting lineup every 3 minutes leading up to lock?
Could be.
Well, Burks is starting again. Ivy, Burks, Livers, Bagley, Wiseman. That's the latest starting lineup for the Pistons. Is there going to be another one in a couple minutes? Who's to say? But yeah, all right. So now that he is once again starting, I like Alec Burks, which is good. I didn't change anything for that yet. That would have been a massive pain in the ass if I changed it and that I'd change everything right back.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't do anything either. It pays to wait.
I'm happy this is a slate where I just have 20 lineups and not more than that, because this is going to be a lot to update heading right into lock.
Yeah.
One other thing that's kind of interesting. I thought there was a chance that Malcolm Brogdon was going to start today for the Celtics with them shorthanded, and also that we got news earlier that he wasn't going to be restricted. I was going to like him as a contrarian tournament play, and now that he's coming off the bench in this weird starting lineup for the Celtics, I am probably not going to really be able to get to Malcolm Brogdon. Is he somebody that you're playing at all, just to sum up what we have going on with the Celtics?
Probably not. We've only got him playing 26 minutes. He's 5,700. We've got enough good value elsewhere. Tough matchup with the Cavs. I don't really see myself getting to Malcolm Brogdon. I think the best argument is he's only 6.5% owned on a 6-game slate. So like he's in play, but I don't see myself getting there.
And as I am updating lineups, by the way, it does not look like I'm going to be getting to very much Grant Williams now. Could you keep an eye out for me? Did we get the ownership update? I would like to bring that to the people.
All right, hang on.
So when we get that, we could run through any
I don't think it is not updated as far as I can tell. My Slack also, I don't know why this keeps happening, like on every fourth show or so, my Slack freezes and like I can't move up and down or like do anything in Slack, and I can't figure out how to shut it off or anything like that. So I can't look at our projections update.
It's powered by Jordan's internet. That's the issue.
That's true.
It also, Jordan's responsible for all the Twitter issues earlier. When Twitter, you couldn't post links on Twitter, couldn't see pictures. Jordan Klein's fault. People don't know that. That was absolutely, that was the real issue. Some more questions that we have in Discord, by the way. Woody, who I assume has not asked a serious question, but he wants to know our favorite 6 to 7 plays. Here's what I'll do for you, because we also have Teely asked for our favorite 2 to 3 plays. Position by position, how are you at with running lineups?
Oh, I have not really run it. I wait till the last minute to run lineups, so don't worry about me. We can talk. I have run a run of lineups. I'll do another one right now, so we can play that game.
So let's just try to go position by position and get an overall idea of who our favorite players are going to be as we go through this. And 16 minutes to go until lock, and also one where it was fairly difficult to have lineups built well in advance for tonight's slate, because we got a bunch of breaking news pretty late. So I'm also still working on it, but I think we should have some kind of idea for some of the guys that we're going to be targeting, more than others. Starting at the point guard position, Neil, and then we go back and forth this, but starting with you, who are the couple players that you're getting the most exposure to at point guard?
Currently it would be Tyrese Maxey and Damian Lillard.
Okay. And
Jaden Ivey, I guess, is up there too. The hard thing is I can see right now that like this does not reflect the latest news. So like I haven't done any projections because we're getting so much late news that I'm just waiting for our projections to update before I do anything manually. I'm getting 35% Corey Joseph right now. I don't want any Corey Joseph if he's not starting. So this is going to be changing pretty soon. I'll keep updating.
Yeah, I'm also updating these lineups right now. The things I'm still updating for the Sixers, and then I'll be able to run lineups in like 5 seconds to answer that question. Just getting McDaniels in there now, who he's a little, I hadn't looked at his price tag. I thought that he was going to be somebody that was a little bit cheaper than what he is. He's playable, but I thought he was going to be like min price, and he's not quite as cheap as that. But some lineups based on what I have built right now, the players I'm getting the most exposure to at point guard for me at the moment, it is Derek White and Jaden Ivey. At shooting guard, Alec Burks and Derek White. Small forward, I have more Hamidou Diallo than I want, so I'm going to be changing that. And then Trey Murphy at small forward, power forward Marvin Bagley, and then a bunch of guys behind him. Jalen McDaniels, Herbert Jones, Caleb Martin. I assume I'm going to end up with a lot of Bagley heading into lock. Center, Bagley, and Joel Embiid were the centers I got to the most.
Yeah, it's tough just because I think a lot of this is changed, but like we're going to get back more Alec Burks as now that we have the new starting lineup. I assume Lee is, or whoever is doing it right now, is working on getting that back to where it was right now, because we dropped Alec Burks' projection from like 30 to 26, and which is still good, still getting a lot, but we'll get more when he's starting.
And then some super chats here. My filler arc, Alec Burks or Derek White. That is Burks for me right now. I have more of Alec Burks than I do of Derek White. And then our guy, Robert Kramutula, wants to know 5 favorite non-Pistons for cash on DK, and then rank the Pistons for cash on DK. Okay, so 2 different elements to this question. He wants to know who our favorite non-Pistons are for cash, and then our favorite Pistons for cash. So for me, Joel Embiid, Derek White, I think Jaylen Brown's a pretty strong cash play.
Tyrese Maxey, I would say.
Yeah, Maxey as well. Trey Murphy would be another one. And then rank the Pistons players. So I think you should be playing Burks and Bagley in cash. Like, no doubt about that. You're playing Burks and Bagley in cash. They're both going to be super popular and for good reason. Let me think if there's any other.
I'd say Jaden Ivey and Hamidou Diallo are both playable in cash. Diallo's starting, right?
You should play Ivy in cash as well. Just looking at the latest ownership, he's popular enough that he should be a cash game option. I wouldn't play any other Pistons other than them in cash, though. For cash game purposes, I would say Bagley, Ivy, Burks, and no other Pistons in cash.
Diallo's not starting. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Yep.
Right.
I would also say DeAnthony Melton up there as somebody that I would consider playing in cash. It's 45. I mean, our ownership doesn't reflect it right now, but he looks like one of the better values on the slate now starting for the Sixers.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't play him in cash, but yeah, overall, I do think that he is a pretty good option. There's a lot of guys around there that are really popular. I think you probably need to be playing. And by the way, for people bringing it up, for ownership purposes in cash games, like I'd be more apt to play somebody who's more popular in a cash game and somebody who's less popular in a tournament. It's like inverse ideologies, right? Because you want the biggest floor possible in cash games. And then one of the ways to do that is just if you're in between 2 players and one of them is far more popular than the other, just take the guy who's more popular in a cash game. So you're blocking out part of the field.
Yep. You're hoping that the field makes mistakes. Okay. Ownership is updated.
Ownership is updated, by the way. So I'm going to read off. We've got about 10 minutes to go into lock here, guys. If you haven't done it yet, do us a favor by liking the video and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And ownership updated. So if you guys don't have a Stochastic Plus Platinum membership, you're signing up for the first time, use the link we have below, because that is going to get you 50% off the first package you sign up for. And you get access to these ownership projections that, as you could see, are updated in real time. Even on a slate like this, where there's a lot of hustle heading into lock, we got them updated with plenty of time to go here. And then also we've got our NBA lineup generator, where all this data, when it gets updated in our ownership, in our player projections, is updated in the NBA lineup generator as well. Super easy to use. If you're in a time crunch, this is going to make lineups for you, up to 20 of them, and you can upload them directly to FanDuel and or DraftKings. Most popular players on DK right now. Number 1, Marvin Bagley projected for 44% ownership. Tyrese Maxey behind him at 40% ownership. Jaden Ivey right now at 31%. Joel Embiid at 28%. And then Derek White also at 28%. Over on FanDuel, De'Anthony Melton is the most popular player on FanDuel. Kind of funny how this works. Melton is 48% owned on FanDuel. DraftKings, though, at almost an identical price point, 17% owned. So it goes to show you that just some of even the pricing gap, it's the same on both sites. Just kind of the difference in how other players could be priced and how it could impact the ownership. Melton, once again, 48% owned over on FanDuel. So FanDuel, certainly play him in cash games. Derek White, 46% owned. Marvin Bagley, 44% owned. Jaden Ivey, 38% owned. And they've got Jimmy Butler, 37%. No other players on FanDuel currently project for north of 30% ownership. Of those 5, all 37% or higher, all super, super popular plays. All right, looks like we are all caught up on the super chats for now. Are there any questions I missed in the Discord? There are. Vince 1979 Gator. Best small forward 4,800 and under, not named Grant Williams. Well, the answer isn't Grant Williams for me anyway. I don't like Grant Williams anymore. Let's see.
What was the price tag?
4,800 and under.
Oh, that's that small forward?
Yes.
Okay.
That is Trey Murphy for me.
It is De'Anthony Melton for me.
Does he? Oh, that's right. He has small forward eligible. It's still Murphy for me. But Melton's a really strong option as well. I might have to give Melton some extra minutes so I get more of him.
Yeah, we've got Melton 2 fantasy points, almost 2 fantasy points higher than Trey Murphy in the stochastic projections.
Yeah, I'll give him some more minutes and then I'll get to him a little bit more frequently. A couple extra minutes for Melton. Run the lineups. By the way, same as usual for you. You capped everybody at 3 per team.
I did. Yeah, this doesn't look like a slate where I need to get more than 3 from any of these teams.
Yeah,
I'm still interested in
Jalen. I have a lot of lineups with a lot of Pistons, and I am going to change that right now.
So we've bumped down Jalen McDaniels fantasy points per minute from 0.85 to 0.77 with the start. Only giving him 27 minutes though, and he looks playable at 27 minutes. He could get up to, he could play in the 30s as a starter. So I'm sort of interested in, and we only project for 5% ownership. So I've got some interest there still.
Yeah, no, I think that he's a tournament play. Wouldn't play him in cash games. Like I said, when we first saw that McDaniels was starting, I didn't think very much about McDaniels today, right? And then I saw the price point was like 3,900, not Flatman 3,000, playable, but not as good as he otherwise would have looked. So once again, good option. I wouldn't play him in a cash game and more of a large field tournament option there for me. How are you doing on your lineups, Neil?
Good. I'm still making adjustments as we go. Here's something that I'm coming up on now. What about De'Aaron Fox? Like we talk about what would happen if De'Aaron Fox is out. We're only projecting De'Aaron Fox for 4% ownership. And at the time that game starts, people aren't really going to be able to swap onto De'Aaron Fox if they want to. Kind of think he's an interesting contrarian option in a large field GPP.
Yeah, he's more expensive than I would like him to be. Like I feel like Fox is very close to his peak price. Like,
yeah,
Fox
he's not a great point per dollar play at all.
Yeah, I have him, and we do as well on the site for like under 45 fantasy points. Just relative to what his salary is, it's hard for me to roster somebody who just projects that poorly on a points per dollar basis.
That's fair.
I agree. He's gonna be extremely low owned, and he's one of those guys who you'd say like, all right, technically based on the numbers, is he lower owned than what he should be? Yeah, probably. He probably has a better chance of being optimal than like the 3% ownership or whatever it is. But it's still just hard for me to get there based on projections.
I'm trying to find him in the boom bust because I'm actually curious if we even have in my internal boom bust. I have positive leverage there, but I'm not finding him in our actual mathematical boom bust.
We got some more questions in Discord. By the way, Vince, answered Vince's question. And then, just some updates. XX Cubs fan was saying the last thing that he heard me say before we cut out. And then we got Richie G sent a picture of what he believes that you look like. That is Tim Allen. Oh, so it's all right. Yeah, so just Tim Allen next to what was the guy on the show with him? I forget the other guy's name.
Neighbor
Yeah.
Al.
That is a good lookalike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got that one before. That's not a first.
I like it. Good work, Richie. Good work. So one thing that I'm running into, I bounced it a little bit better now. One thing that was becoming an issue with me as I was running my lineups with the 76ers is I wasn't really getting a good balance of the players I like there. Where like the first run was like, oh, I'm getting to all of the Embiid and then wasn't getting to enough Harden. Now I've got it to where I've got like a good balance of Harden, Embiid, Maxey, and Melton, which I wasn't really getting at first. But of those Sixers guys, because this is to me what the biggest issue I had facing me as I was building out these lineups, who are your highest rostered 76ers? Like what order do you have them in?
All right, let me look. I just exported Crunch so I can. All right, so I currently have, and I'm just playing 20 lineups. I've got 70% Maxey, 65% Embiid, 40% Melton, 20% Jalen McDaniels, 10% Harden.
Okay, so for me, I have the most of Embiid 1. It ended up being Melton 2, Maxey 3, Harden 4. But I have 35% Maxey and 30% Harden. So I'm a little bit higher on Harden than you.
I do currently have 65% Mike Muscala. So this is not my final crunch. I don't like Muscala enough to play 65%.
Where did my lineup? Oh, there we go. I'd save my lineups and I couldn't figure out what I labeled them as. There we go. All right. My lineups are uploaded. I'm good to go. Let's make sure that there are no outstanding super chats. Are there? No. Okay. We've got all of those answered. Also going to check Discord to make sure there's nothing in there. That we answered everybody's questions. We did. All right. So guys, the slate's about to lock in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Neil and I are going to be sticking around for 30 minutes. We're going to be sweating whatever happens in the games. We're going to be reacting to any kind of news that comes out. And then also, we're going to be building a parlay over for NHA. Their picks against the house. We've got projections for it over at Stokastic.com. Hopefully, it's something that you guys could build with us and make some money. Hopefully, there's still some value left as well, because I know half the games are going to be locking right at the start of the slate. As for injuries, officially, De'Aaron Fox is questionable. I'm fairly confident that he is going to play. Jonas Valanciunas is questionable. I think he is going to play, but not as confident as I am that De'Aaron Fox is going to play. Michael Porter Jr. is questionable. I've got no fucking idea on that one. That one's a 50-50. We've got a coin flip on him. And those are going to be the injuries that are going to impact the later. We also got King Carr is questionable, but that's something that, well, I guess if Porter Jr. is out, him being questionable also matters because he usually starts in those spots. But we've got the Atlanta-Miami game, Toronto-Denver, New Orleans-Sacramento. That's all stuff that's going to be happening after lock in terms of the later locking games. What are you rooting for the most here, Neil? What is going to be your main rooting interest for tonight's slate?
Currently have 100% Alec Burks. So I would say cheering for Alec Burks to start. After Alec Burks, what else am I cheering for? Let's see. Maxey. I've got a ton of Maxey. Man, I keep on lowering my Muscala projection and getting a ton anyway. So give me 1 second. I
mean, I could literally only give you a second because then the slate starts.
I know. All right.
It's all right. Just text your rep after the slate locks and give him the real lineups, and he'll change all of them for you after lock.
I do have Onyx for another 9 months.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so I just uploaded one more time. Yeah, still Alec Burks 100%. I've got 75% Maxey. I guess I'm cheering for some Sixers is what I'm cheering for.
I am also going to be cheering for. So the teams I have the most exposure to are the Sixers, the Pistons, and then the Celtics in that order. That's the most exposure I have. Is it the same for you?
I think I have more Blazers than the Celtics. I definitely have more Blazers.
Oh.
I've got a good amount of Tybalt, Grant, Reddish, and Lillard. I have more of those four than anybody on the Celtics. So wish me luck with that.
Here's the player I don't have a ton of. It scares the shit out of me. This is Jaylen Brown has all the opportunity in the world for usage tonight, all of it.
Yep.
But I also, so this is where I went both ways on it and ultimately came in underweight to the field on Jaylen Brown. He played last night. It is the tail end of a back-to-back. It is a double overtime game that he played yesterday. So I get a little bit concerned potentially about his minutes for today. And then also just the blowout risk. I bet the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. I wouldn't be surprised if they smashed the Celtics. Jaylen Brown be way more impacted by that than say like a Mike Muscala, just based on the price point and the roles they normally play. So that's the player I'm scared of the most that I don't have a lot of is Jaylen Brown. Did you get to a lot of Jaylen Brown, or is there somebody else that you are scared of just destroying the slate and you don't have enough of them?
I have 20% Jaylen Brown in 20 lineups. So I've just got 4 Jaylen Brown lineups. I'm right with the field on Jaylen Brown. I think Grant Williams is probably the one who scares me the most. I think I ended up going with 0 Grant Williams. I saw how everybody in chat was responding to us saying that we don't like Grant Williams, and it led me to believe he's still going to be highly owned. We'll see if that's actually the case. Maybe that's our chat specifically likes him, but yeah, I think I went completely away from Grant Williams. Oh no, I ended up, man, I had 0 and I ended up with 10% Grant Williams. So I did not actually end up completely go. I left him at a projection of 20, which was, good enough at 3,400.
You know, it's funny when I was first talking about Grant Williams, it seemed like people were kind of against me for wanting to play Grant Williams. Then we find out he's not starting. I say I don't like him anymore. Now people say they like Grant Williams.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? I know
I
it
don't know
is.
what to tell you.
People come on the internet and they're ready for war, myself included. Particularly, there are some days I log into Twitter and I go, today I choose violence. I'm going to argue with every single person who has 7 followers and no profile picture.
Yep.
And some days I can't be bothered. It's different. So I understand. I'm an internet troll just as much as all the rest of you.
Good use of time.
I am absolute scum of the earth.
I mean, you started a daily dunce of the day. I know that. Is it not every day that you wake up and choose violence?
No. And the other thing too is I haven't done as many of those lately.
Okay.
For no particular reason other than I want to get back to it. Just I got a little numb of it because it was the same thing over and over. I'm ready to bring it back though.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Every once in a while a stupid one pops up. Like I had one, I guess this was last weekend. My most favorite recent one was there was somebody who was quitting sports betting forever because he was convinced the Jake Paul fight was going to be rigged. So he bet a ton of money on Jake Paul.
I saw that one.
And then the fight wasn't rigged. So he quit. So he's quitting sports betting.
Yeah,
so I've never seen somebody who he basically quit because it's not rigged.
Yeah.
That's new. I've never seen it before.
Yeah. I'd be pissed too.
It was a totally new discovery for me in gambling Twitter. Never seen that angle of it before.
I have a friend in the community. I'm not going to name this friend, but it's somebody that people would know.
Eric Lindquist.
Not Eric. Doesn't work at our company. I'll say that. Bet on a tennis match that they were told was rigged, and then they lost a lot of money on that tennis match. So not the first to have that problem of thinking something's rigged, betting accordingly, and then losing that money. It's unfortunate.
What was the source that made him think it was rigged?
I think it was a friend who was maybe in the know. I don't really remember.
Wasn't that in the know, apparently?
Apparently not that in the know. A friend who claimed to be in the know.
Not a friend anymore.
That's right. I hope.
So how upset was your friend about this revelation that the match was not fixed?
I think fairly upset. He's a very competitive guy. Yeah, I think he was pretty upset, but I wasn't there with him at the time. I heard about the story like months later, maybe even a year later. So like, probably wasn't as raw at the time I heard the story.
All right, let me pull up the contest standings. I'm just curious to look at the $15 on DK and see what some of the ownership ended up being. Bag alert, major bag alert. Marvin Bagley is 66% owned. That is a lot of ownership. So we got Bagley at 66%. Alec Burks came in at 49. Tyrese Maxey is 43% owned. Cam Reddish, 35% owned. Joel Embiid, 33%. Damian Lillard, 30%. Muscala ended up being 28%. Ivy, 25. Jaylen Brown, 24. Derek White, 23. Grant Williams still came in at 19% owned, so I'll be rooting against him today. Hamidou Diallo ended up coming in 15% owned. James Harden, 5. So I guess my big rooting interests here, based on some of this ownership, D'Anthony Melton only being 13% owned. I'm rooting for him. Rooting for James Harden at 15%. Rooting against Jaylen Brown at 25%. What did I end up with Cam Reddish? 35% Reddish. Let's see. What did I have on him? All right. I have 25% Reddish. So a little bit underweight. Nothing crazy. Based on that ownership, Neil, just reading it off to you.
Yeah.
Bagley 66, Burks 49, Maxey 43, Reddish 35, Embiid 33, Lillard 30. But of those really popular players, which one are you going to be rooting against? Who are you going to be trying to put a curse on?
So I played a lot of chalk here. So I have a lot of Bagley, I have a lot of Maxey, I have a lot of Burks, a lot of Reddish, a lot of Embiid. Man, there's none that I'm cheering. I think that I'm cheering for all of those guys. I'm not going to cheer against somebody when I'm over the field, Greg, and you can't make me.
Who is the highest owned player you were underweight to the field to then?
Let me see. So the contest I have open is the $4.20 max. So I don't know if this is slightly different ownership here. Looks like I'm overweight to the field on Bagley. No, I guess I have 65% Bagley. The field has 67% Bagley. So I am underweight to the field.
15, but so more or less the same.
Yeah. I'm over the field on Maxey. I'm over the field on Burks. I think I'm right with the field on Reddish. Field's at 39%. I'm at 35%. So I'm slightly below the field on Reddish. I am over the field on Embiid. I'm with the field on Lillard. Ooh, Derek White is 25%.
Sorry. Important super chat. Very important super chat from a Jordan Clean. Neil, how is the fuck shack with Dirty Mike and the boys?
I love the fuck shack with Dirty Mike and the boys. I mean, you gotta try it out at least once, Jordan.
You gotta try it out. You can't you can't poo-poo anything unless you tried it out.
Exactly. How do you know you don't like it if you never tried it?
Now, with that said, somebody said that to me once, and then that was a 3-year heroin kick, and it was like, well, I had some regrets there. But I understand. I understand the thought process. Were there any other super chats, or just that one from that Jordan guy? All right, we got all those answered. Let's build out some NHA lineups here. Well, NHA props against the house, and I'm not sure what props we are going to find that still look like good value, but we're going to do our damn best to make it happen. So I'm refreshing all the projections we have here. Jordan, right to it. I see he's already shared the screen with us. You're the best, Jordan. We got it up on screen. Don't forget, guys, if you haven't signed up in NHA yet, use the promo code Greg. You're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. My name, GREG. By the way, we tried to use my name as a promo code at other places, Neil, because we're trying to get some of these designated promo codes.
Yeah.
Greg is not available at most places, we found out.
Oh, man. Really?
Yeah. I did.
Who do you think they gave it to?
I did somebody else named Greg. I did ask I don't know if this was appreciated or not, but I was asked what else I would like to be called in the promo. And I asked the business department if fuckface was available. I'm not sure if that's going to fly as a promo code. That was my request, though.
That's a good request. No response, though?
Not yet.
All right. Hold out some hope.
We'll see. NHA. What are some of the good-looking projections we have here? So keep in mind, 3 games have already locked. We no longer have the Cleveland-Boston game, Indiana-Philadelphia, Detroit-Portland, all off the board. So we're looking at the later 3 games on the slate: Atlanta-Miami, Denver-Toronto, and Sacramento-New Orleans. All right. With that in mind, let's look at the projections here. What's looking good? Number one thing that stands out, at least in our projections, that looks pretty hefty of a rebound prop there for Caleb Martin. 5.5. It's a good matchup against Atlanta. That's such a big rebound prop number. So Caleb Martin's over-under for rebounds is 5.5 at NHA. The last time he had 6 or more rebounds in a game was February 15th. For the season, Martin averages 5 rebounds per game. As a starter, he averages 5.2. We have him projected for 4.5. This seems like a curiously high number. The under looks terrific, though. So we have to start here, Jordan, with Caleb Martin for under 5.5 rebounds. I don't understand why the number is that high.
Yeah, let's take the under.
All right, so there's our first leg. Do you got the projections in front of you, Neil?
I did. Yes, I do. Maybe I should refresh them though. I bet they've changed.
By the way, we still have the Jokic one from before as well, still available. So add that one in as well. So we've already got 2 legs. We've got Caleb Martin under 5.5 rebounds. We've got Nikola Jokic under 10.5 assists. If you guys remember from before, we got a super chat from, was it a Jake? If it wasn't a Jake, it's a Jake now. He left the super chat, asked earlier what my favorite NHA prop was, and I went with Nikola Jokic under 10.5 assists. Sticking with that one. So we've got Caleb Martin under 5.5 rebounds, got Nikola Jokic under 10.5 assists. First 2 legs of the parlay. Your turn to bring us one, Neil.
All right, I'm working on a good one here.
Did you put Caleb Martin in, Jordan? And the other was the Nikola Jokic under 10.5 assists. Yes. Just wonderful.
I mean, this Max Strus one looks like it would be the next available, and I'm looking up the underlying stats there, but we have the Max Strus over 9.5 points, winning 60% of the time. We've got him projected for 11.5 points tonight. That's kind of interesting to me. I
see what happened here, by the way.
Okay.
So there was a potential expectation that Caleb Martin was going to start tonight for the Heat, and Max Strus is starting, and the numbers haven't adjusted in NHA.
So get that one quickly. Good correlation with those two. I mean, now that we have the lineup.
Yeah. So just as exactly. So what ended up happening here? The reason we like one is the reason we like both. There's starting lineup change. NHA hasn't adjusted. Let's take advantage of that. They say there's no house advantage, and it's because there isn't. They don't know what the starting lineups are. So Max Strus overs, Caleb Martin unders, really good correlation. It's hard to find that in like the 3-game parlays.
Right.
So there we go. Makes sense. Does anything else really look good? I don't know. look at you there, Neil.
Yeah, that's the look right there.
Now,
doesn't quite give me my full belly. Like, it's pretty close, but I think I've got a little bit more belly than that. Oh, that's pretty much.
So this was you guys all went to an XFL game together, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right. We did the beer snake in DC.
Right. And those
lemons at people.
Those are your friends from the wife, I assume.
Exactly right. Yeah. Those are the ones she introduced me to.
It's nice. I could see. So people don't know this, but Neil was homeless at one point in time.
Before I met my wife.
Go back to the picture, Jordan. I don't want to embarrass Neil, but that's actually a wedding photo. So that's him. That's the so walk me through some of these people. So the guy immediately to your left with the mustache, that was the best man at your wedding, right?
That was the best man. We went to high school together, believe it or not. He looks a little bit older than he is, but we went to high school together. Really great guy when he's not on drugs. So like a couple hours a day, he's a wonderful man.
That's like I had when I was doing comedy, I had this friend whose name was Phil Philly. He was an unmedicated schizophrenic and used to follow me around everywhere.
Oh, fun.
And you would get him a couple hours a day. He would be like really normal and like fun and interesting to talk to. And then like half the day he thought he was a farm animal. It was very, very weird. But yeah, I could see that we had some similar relationships with people. And then you got the guy in the back who looks like he's from Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, that's actually Mike Lawrence.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of people haven't seen Mike Lawrence, but that's my good friend Mike Lawrence, producer of many of our shows. Awesome yo in chat.
That's what he looks like now because he had the shoulder injury.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't know that about Mike, but he's been producing shows with one arm because he fell up the steps and into a garbage can, which is not that far off from the truth.
That's true. He did do it to himself.
That's actually what happened to Mike. Mike fell up the steps and into a garbage can and broke his shoulder. Yeah,
more or less. Essentially.
Yeah, there's Mike in chat right there. Facts.
Nice.
And then it's always, you never know what kind of story you're going to get from somebody when they show up to work with like a noticeable injury. He had the sling on and he was clearly injured, and he asked him what happened. You should have made up a story, Mike.
He should have.
You didn't have to tell us you were laying on the ground crying as your neighbors walked over you and kicking garbage on you. You could have said he got into a fight or something. You didn't have to say you fell into a garbage can going up the steps. What are the other
the story I heard was a lot more like he avoided running over some old ladies. So like it's a lot more heroic than the story you're telling here.
As first, I've walked past a few older people in my life. I've never broken my arm doing it.
I mean, Mike's just not quite as sturdy as you are. He's a clumsy guy.
That's probably true.
Great at math, though.
That's true. He's good at math. We found that out that whenever we're doing the So Rare show and it's the three of us together, he's really good at telling us what amount of salary is left on the lineups based on the numbers that are on the screen for him. Jordan has struggled with that at times. Mike has it down pretty good. By the way, start of the Blazers-Pistons game. The Blazers are up 10-0, 4 minutes into the game. The Pistons are 4 minutes into the game and have amassed 0 total points. That's not great. 76ers Pacers. 8-9 is the game. This is super high scoring. 8-9, 2 minutes into the game. McDaniels, 4 points and 3 boards in 2 minutes. On the Pacers side of the game, Jordan Nwora has 5 points. And then in the Celtics Cavs game, Mike Muscala is on the board. He hit a 3-pointer. For the Cavs, they're up 7-5 and just kind of spread scoring. Nobody really doing all that much. Are you panicking about anything yet, Neil?
No, I'm feeling good. I'm right with the field on Lillard. The only 2 players that are doing well so far are Lillard and McCann. I guess, Alec Burks doing well enough. I'm not really concerned there. So I would say so far I'm not panicking about anything. Are you panicking about anything?
Mm-hmm. By the way,
Embiid,
for people who missed the other day, Neil and I were doing the show to make sure the storylines come together. People were wondering what's in my canteen here I drink. It's Eric's tears. I get them ordered custom in the mail. Whenever I make him cry on shows, he has to do it into a cup, and then he sends them to me in the mail, and that is all I drink for my electrolytes. They're very salty. The start of the Pistons have 5 points on the board now. Who hit that other shot? It was Alec Burks. Nice. So we got 3 points, a rebound, and assist. So Burks had 0 fantasy points 4 minutes into the first quarter, and now he just hit a 3, had an assist and a rebound right away. So there we go.
That'll do.
Alec Burks is on the board. Miles Turner's 2 fouls, according to the YouTube chat. So that's
this guy, Eric Lindquist, saying Miles Turner insta fouls Jalen Smith in instantly. And also, you're an idiot, Gregory. This guy, Eric Lindquist, says in chat.
Send me those tears. Send me those tears. I was hoping. I'm kind of disappointed that he's in chat. I was hoping that I could have revealed that to him on the show. But we'll see. The new attachments coming to the water bottle. Get ready for it.
Jojo Pukey asked why I'm wearing sunglasses. I just want to say that's a good question. I was only planning on wearing them for like 2 minutes as a bit, and then I just wore them the whole show. I just got such great reviews. I couldn't take them off.
Yeah. It's because his future's so bright. He just can't help it. It's just to prevent himself from going blind. He's got Michael Porter Jr. expected to play. Let's talk about this real quick. Because Michael Porter Jr., nobody's going to play him. Nobody's going to play Michael Porter Jr. He was questionable all day. Like I said before, when we were going over the injuries, he was somebody I really had no kind of lean on. The fact that this news has come out so late, are you going to be willing to put Michael Porter Jr. into some lineups under the assumption that he's just going to be a super low-owned piece?
Yes, I think that I would be willing to. Like in a 150 set, I would. When I'm playing 20 lineups, I don't have that much left in terms of like a lot of my roster spots have already been used in I guess I could a lot of my roster spots have already been used. The first 3 games have taken up the majority of my ownership here, so I don't think I'm going to force it. Like I think that it's if you have saved some spots, I think it'd be worth considering going there, but I'm not going to force that one in.
Of the remaining games on the slate, which player do you have the most exposure to?
De'Aaron Fox currently.
Ooh,
I have 20%. That's the most of anybody is 20%. If he gets ruled in, I'm going to have a lot of leverage on the field on De'Aaron Fox. I talked myself into it. Not a great point per dollar play, but I think De'Aaron Fox is live to put up 60 fantasy points and be somebody that you really want on a 6-game slate. So it's a big risk though. He could be ruled out and then I'll have to pivot.
I'm updating my lineups right now with Strus starting. I think he's kind of interesting as a lower owned piece in tournaments. We didn't have Strus projected for really any ownership, did we? Pull that up. Where do we have Strus projected? Yeah, he's projected for 0.4% ownership on DraftKings. Let me refresh to make sure that's still the case.
Yeah,
Dude, less than 1% owned for Max Strus. Cheap
that
price
is,
point.
I mean, it is like that. That is affected by our projection for him, right? So we only have him projected for 23 minutes and 18 fantasy points. So as a result, like that's going to sway things. If other sites have him projected a little bit better, their ownership will have him a little bit higher. But my guess is nobody is putting Max Strus in there for 32. So yeah, kind of interesting.
I'm not saying that like going crazy and playing like an insane amount of Max Strus.
Yeah,
but it's a good match. It's a really good matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. What has he done in other starts this year? Strus has made 27 starts this year, 35 minutes per game, 26 and a half minutes as a 26 and a half fantasy points as a starter. I think he's being slept on.
he might be a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you see how many minutes as a starter per game?
Yeah, he is playing 35 minutes per game in 27 starts this year.
Interesting. All right, let me see.
And once he was not expected to start. Same thing. It's the same thing we were talking about before, where it was kind of caught off guard by NHA as well.
Yeah. I do want to say, so I just refreshed and our projection has brought him up to 27.4 minutes and 21 fantasy points. So apparently it had not, I had not refreshed since we got the Heat starting lineup. But we still have him at 0.5% ownership, even with that update, which is kind of interesting. He is. I think that's an interesting play for sure.
And there's just variance in those minutes.
Right.
All right. Let's rerun this. See what I get. I'm going to end up getting to just, I feel like a lot of Max Strus when I rerun this. Let's see. Why did I not get to as much as I thought I was going to?
What did you
because of the
change his
position he
projection
plays?
to? Maybe.
Why did I not? So part of it, no, he has forward eligibility, so I should be able to get to some of him. What's going on here? I want to play Max Strus, and my computer's telling me like, nah, you don't want to. Like, my computer's trying to save me. I'm trying to say I want to play Max Strus, and then my computer's trying to convince me otherwise. Like, what do I have to do? Let me thumbs up him here. Thumbs up Max Strus. Let's go down on Caleb Martin. Come on.
Whoa.
Max Strus.
Phrasing.
What happened?
You said let's go down on Caleb Martin?
What's that?
I said you said let's go down on Caleb Martin?
Yeah.
I'm just nothing. That's nothing wrong with that.
Is that not how you optimize fantasy production for the players you would like to do well or not do well? You got to bribe them, Neil. They don't just play well because you put them in your lineups. You got to give them a little something extra. It's called a tip. Like, you want good service at a restaurant. What do?
Yeah, you go down on them.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You've been to a restaurant before.
I've been to plenty of restaurants. You saw my old photo.
Yeah, that's right.
With the boys.
Put the picture back up, Jordan.
Jordan is enjoying this conversation.
Yeah,
he caught that one at the exact same time as me.
But also, Jordan, can you do the screen share? Because I want to be able to see I want to see Neil and his buddies too. Yeah, that's the gang. That's the gang. What'd you guys call yourselves again?
We called them Mike and the Fuck Boys or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Jordan will have to remind me.
Yeah.
Along those. Dirty Neil and the boys. Okay. I swear it was different in the super chat, but
I remember being different in the super chat as well. What was it? Because Jordan there was a super chat that was left about it. What did the super chat say? I'm pretty sure it was the fuck boys though. You know what I'm confused by? The lady / man to your right in that photo.
My dad?
Galler. Oh, that's your dad?
Yeah, that's my dad.
Oh,
You
I
don't
was
see the
confused.
mustache?
I was confused. No, to your right, not to your left.
To my the guy with the long hair. Oh, I thought that's who we were talking about before.
No. With the
Okay.
long hair. That's fine. If that's your dad, that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's not my dad. That's the guy I went to high school with. I was describing the wrong guy. I misheard what you were talking about before. Yeah, the guy to my right in the picture, that's the guy I went to high school with. The guy to my left is my dad.
Oh.
I just gave you the wrong explanation earlier.
No, that's true. That's Joseph in chat thinks that's Josh Engelman, though.
Oh, he's right. Yep. A lot of people look alike in my life. That's Josh Engelman.
I recognize from the alcohol. I've seen Josh Engelman on the streets before. He's typically carrying alcohol on him.
Yep. I've seen photos in Chicago of Josh Engelman. I don't know if he had alcohol in his hands or just like coming out of his mouth into a trash can.
Yeah, no, the alcohol is born in his stomach and then he throws it up, and that's where all liquor comes from. Some early results for the basketball games now, by the way. Tyrese Maxey up to 11 points. No other stats, but 11 points. Slow starts for Joel Embiid, DeAnthony Melton, and James Harden, which is not ideal for myself. Also not ideal. The Boston Celtics are leading early, and Jaylen Brown is playing well. Derek White not involved in the action. And then for the Cavs, nothing real going on there. Can we also recap, Jordan? I want to put the NHA, the prop that we had, back on the screen. I want to see if there's any other things that we could find here as we close out. And also just want to tell the people, once again, that if you want to sign up at NHA, use the promo code Greg for up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. And then recap of our picks here. We had Caleb Martin under 5.5 rebounds. We have Max Strus over 9.5 points. Nikola Jokic under 10.5 assists. Is there anything else that stands out to you in our projections, Neil, before we head into lock?
Hang on one second. Let me refresh. See if there's anything new. Ooh, OG. We talked about OG earlier.
That's true. We did for So Rare.
Over 1.5 3-pointers, 58% chance of hitting. Those ones, it's always like, it's obviously risky when the line is that low at 1.5, but all of these are clearly going to be somewhat risky, but 58% chance of hitting, I don't mind that.
Which one stands out the most to you if we're going to build this out?
Actually, I mean, I was going to say, if with Michael Porter Jr. likely playing, does that cut down on Aaron Gordon's minutes at all? Probably not, really.
No, because we were projecting all day. Because for people who are not aware of what we do when a player is listed as questionable, if somebody is questionable, we generally assume they're playing, generally in our projections. If you're seeing somebody who is listed as questionable, the assumption is that they are playing and they're playing full minutes, unless we hear otherwise. If a player is questionable, we get coach speak that they're unlikely to play. That might be different if we get the coach speak that X player is playing, but they're going to be on a minutes restriction. That will impact our projections. But as things stand right now, it was always under the assumption that Michael Porter Jr., based on our projections, is going to be playing. So no impact on Aaron Gordon. Okay.
But we the tools like that one anyway. We've got the under on 6.5 rebounds hitting 58% of the time, so we could consider that one. A lot of these look pretty close to me. Like they're all like good bets, none that are obvious slam dunks, but like we've got some nice bets here with the Aaron Gordon, OG Anunoby. Those both look pretty good to me. Do you see any that you really like here?
I'm good with leaving it at the 3-leg parlay.
Okay.
I think we found 3 that projected really well for us. I think this is what we should go with. 5x money. And once again, the players we have in there are Caleb Martin under 5.5 rebounds, Max Strus for over 9.5 points. Those two are correlated based on the starting lineup change for the Heat. And then we Nikola Jokic for under 10.5 assists. I just realized that I ran lineups, rebuilt them, and then didn't upload them to DraftKings. I should do that right now. Export, upload lineups. This is how quickly it's done. Now click the button. They're in with like 30 seconds to spare. There we go. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm Greg. That's Neil. He's friends with a bunch of fuckboys. Jordan was producing the show today. We love him very much. If you didn't do it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to NHA for sponsoring the show. Good luck tonight, guys. See you back here tomorrow.